As the sun rose over Berkeley Square, the May sunshine drifted through the blinds. The rays fell across the face of Sandy Kinsolving, waking him. He moved toward the woman next to him and pressed against her soft buttocks. She responded, pushing against him. In a moment he entered her, moving slowly. The phone rang. He cursed and, without stopping the motion, lifted the receiver. "Hello?" he said hoarsely. "It's Joan." He still did not stop moving. "Yes," he said. "What time is it in New York?" "Nearly 2 a.m. "What's wrong?" "Daddy has had a stroke." He stopped moving, wilting. "How bad?" "They don't know yet, but at his age—" Jock Bailey was 91. "I'll get myself on a flight. Where is he?" "Lenox Hill. I'm calling from there." "You all right?" "Tired." "Now go home. There's nothing you can do there." "I suppose you're right." "I'll see you this afternoon." She hung up without saying goodbye. Sandy replaced the receiver. Apprehension had made a tight knot in his belly. "Sandy," the woman said accusingly, "you stopped." "Sorry, love, I've just been put out of commission." Sandy tried to put a good face on this. Jock wasn't dead yet. That was something, at least. Sandy let himself into Cornwall and Company, the wine shop on the ground floor. He climbed to the offices and sat down heavily. The door opened, and Maeve O'Brien stepped into the offices. "Maeve," he called out. "Yes, Mr. Kinsolving?" "Would you get me a seat on the flight to New York? Old Mr. Bailey has had a stroke." "Oh, I'm sorry. I'll call the airlines." A few minutes later, Maeve was back. "You're on the 11 o'clock. I'll pick up your ticket." "I'll pick it up myself." He walked toward Berkeley Square. Even if Jock was still alive, at his age he couldn't come out of this hole. What if he couldn't make his wishes known? Oh, Jesus. Sandy stopped at the little American Express office. "I'd like to pick up a ticket for New York," he said. "The reservation's already made." "Certainly, I won't be a moment." He watched the morning light fill the elegant London street. It jarred him that he was leaving this to go back to New York. He didn't know what awaited him there, and he didn't want to guess. After a passable airline lunch, he ordered a single malt whiskey, uncharacteristic for him at this hour. An announcement came that the movie was about to start. He flipped up his screen and adjusted the headset. As he did, someone took the seat next to him. "My seatmate snores," a man's voice said. "Hope you don't mind." "Oh, not at all," Sandy replied. Sandy prepared to lose himself in whatever the movie might be. It turned out to be the Alfred Hitchcock classic, Strangers on a Train. Sandy folded away the screen, then accepted his third scotch. He turned to the man beside him. "Join me?" "Don't mind if I do," the man replied. Sandy looked at his companion and found him very much like himself, mid-40s, good clothes, good haircut, good teeth. His hair was going grey as Sandy's was. His accent was hard to place, something English in it. The man offered his hand. "I'm Peter Martindale. Peter will do." "Sandy Kinsolving." They shook hands. Sandy's drink arrived. "Your good health, Peter," he said, raising his glass. "And yours, Sandy." Both men drank. "God, that's good. Too many wouldn't do your liver any good." "Certainly wouldn't," Sandy replied, "not unless you were laboring very hard in the vineyard, sweating it out." "And what vineyard do you labor in, Sandy?" "Wine. I buy and sell it. You?" "Art. I buy and sell it in San Francisco." "I'm in New York and London. I can't place your accent." "California Brit, I guess," Peter said. "Born in Liverpool, been on the coast for 20 years. "How's the art business?" "Good. And wine?" "Good, and getting better." "Your clothes are English, but your accent isn't." "Grew up in Connecticut, lived in or around New York all my life." "School?" "Amherst." "I was at Oxford, probably about the same time." "I envy you the experience." "You're the right age for Vietnam." "Missed it. Had a wife and child by the time I left Amherst." "What did you do right out of university?" Peter asked. "Went into advertising like my father." "When did the wine trade come along?" "Not for some time. It was liquor at first. My wife's father has had a large distributorship since Prohibition." "And how long did he run the business?" "Right up until yesterday." "He had a stroke last night." "Well, that's a long run. How old was he?" 91. "So you'll take over now?" "That remains to be seen." Sandy sighed. Old Jock had a son and a daughter late in life. The son's in the business. I'm married to the daughter." He sighed again. "You don't make it sound like the happiest of circumstances." "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to whine." "Oh, I can see how that sort of family could be difficult to live in." Sandy began to relax. He found he needed to talk. "It was difficult at first," he said. "I married Joan after my junior year. She was pregnant." "Were you in love with her?" "Yes. Old Jock thought I was after his money, so I made a point of not taking a penny. I worked 2 jobs my senior year." "Why advertising? Your father was in the business?" "Yes, he was an old-timer at Young and Rubicam, and I joined the trainee program there. Did well, too. Before long, Jock was insulted that I hadn't come to work for him, and he began to press me hard. I gave in." "Was it tough work?" "I worked my ass off, and never made a squawk, either. Jock was waiting for that. His son, John Jr., or Laddie, was working the Upper East Side. I worked in coveralls out of a panel truck." "I take it this didn't last forever." "No, after 2.5 years, Jock put me in marketing, as assistant marketing manager." "And how long did you take that form of abuse?" "Not long. After 2 weeks, I walked into Jock's office and told him to go to hell. I told him he didn't have sense enough to use talent." "And what was his reaction?" "He took it surprisingly well, but he knew I wasn't bluffing either, so he surprised me. He asked me what I'd like to do in the business." "And what did you tell him?" "I blurted out that I wanted to start a wine division." "Okay," he said. "I'll give you $100,000 of capital and warehouse space. Go start a wine division of Bailey & Son." "Oh, that was quite an opportunity." I was flabbergasted. The business grew rapidly. And then 3 years ago I heard that Cornwall and Company, an old London retailer, was about to go on the block. I persuaded Jock to go for it, and it's been the most fun I ever had." "Well, that's great," Peter said. "What happens now?" Sandy finished his drink and signaled for another. "I don't know. If Jock had stayed healthy another month, I'd have been a major stockholder in Bailey & Son." "You mean you're not?" "I own 3%, but Jock was finally ready to do the right thing. He made me some extravagant promises." "Which now he may not be able to keep." Sandy started on the new drink. "Right." "Can I make a guess about something? The marriage to Joan isn't what it once was." "Hasn't been for 12, 15 years. "And Jock has a grandson?" "Our boy, Angus. He opted for medicine. He's a resident in cardiology at Lenox Hill." "Suppose Jock dies tomorrow. What will Joan do?" "She and her brother, Laddie, will inherit Bailey & Son, except for my 3%, of course," he said ruefully. "And then I think Joan will divorce me." "Ah," Peter moaned. "She's got you between a stone and a very firm surface, hasn't she?" "She has." "Well, you're not alone, Sandy. My gallery is a regular cash cow. However, my wife has just announced her intention to divorce me and marry a painter I made a giant of the art world." "Well, that's a tough break." "Tougher than you know. California's a community property state." Sandy let out a short, ironic laugh. "Believe me, if New York were a community property state, I'd divorce Joan." "It gets worse," Peter said. "Her new husband will take most of my artists with him. She'll take half the business, and then they'll gut my half." The captain announced their approach into Kennedy Airport. "Sandy," Peter said, "did you enjoy the movie?" "Strangers on a Train? I loved it." "Tell me, what went wrong with Bruno's plan for him to murder Guy's wife and for Guy to murder Bruno's father?" Sandy thought. "Well, 2 things, I think. First, Guy didn't take Bruno's proposal seriously until it was too late, and second, Bruno was crazy." "What do you think would have happened if Guy had taken Bruno's proposal seriously, and if Bruno hadn't been crazy?" "Well, they would have pulled off 2 perfect murders." Sandy looked at Peter with new, if somewhat drunken, awareness. "Sandy, do you think I'm crazy?" Peter asked. "I don't believe you are." "Do you think I'm a serious person?" Sandy looked at Peter. "I believe you are." The airplane touched down and taxied to the gate. Peter stood up. "Perhaps we should talk again," he said. "Perhaps we should," said Sandy. Sandy looked into Jock Bailey's clear blue eyes. "Jock, can you understand me?" Sandy asked. The eyes gazed into his, innocent, expressionless. "Jock, I just wanted you to know that I'm here." A doctor entered.
"I'm Stan Warner," he said. "You're Mr. Bailey's son-in-law, aren't you?"
"Yes, I'm Sandy Kinsolving. Doctor, is he conscious?"
"He is, but he's aphasic, unable to move much or communicate."
"Does he understand what I say to him?"
"I can't give you a definite answer on that."
"Is he likely to recover?"
"He could improve dramatically, or he could remain as he is until death."
"Is he out of danger?"
"He's stable, but at his age anything could happen."
"What is your experience of people his age recovering from something like this?"
"Let's step out into the hall, shall we?"
Warner motioned Sandy to a bench.
"I'm told that Mr. Bailey was extraordinarily vigorous."
"That's perfectly true," Sandy said.
"That stands in his favor, but you asked what my experience of this was in people of his age."
"That's what I want to know."
"Not good. The statistical likelihood is that he will decline over a period, then die peacefully. Another stroke would likely kill him immediately."
Sandy saw his wife and son coming. He stood up, kissed Joan on the cheek, and hugged Angus. "You've both met Dr. Warner?"
"Yes,"
Joan said.
"Have you seen Daddy?"
"Just for a moment. He's awake, but aphasic," Angus said.
"Yes.
Dr. Warner has been explaining his condition. It seems that it's difficult to predict what will happen." "His heart's strong," Angus said. "I'm betting on recovery."
"I hope that happens," Dr. Warner said. "Well, if you'll excuse me, I have patients to see."
He walked away. "There doesn't seem to be anything I can do here," Sandy said. "I think I'll go home. Joan, will you come with me? Albert's still downstairs."
"Yes,"
his wife replied.
"Angus, you'll call us the moment there's any change?"
"Of course, Mother." Sandy walked her to the elevators. Albert, Jock Bailey's longtime servant, stopped the car in front of the Fifth Avenue apartment. Joan was silent all the way to their floor. Sandy used his key to let them into the large apartment, bought with money from a trust Jock had established for Joan. Although Sandy was well paid, he never would have managed anything on the scale at which they were living. There were 14 rooms in the apartment. Sandy followed Joan into the bedroom, undoing his tie.
"You must be tired," she said solicitously.
"Yes, I think I'll sleep for a while. I still can't believe it's happened."
"Neither can I."
"How's Laddie taking it?"
"Like a Scot. He's worried, but he's at the office."
"I guess I better go down there tomorrow and talk to him about what to do."
"What to do?"
"About the business. How to divide the responsibilities. Jock was doing as much as ever, you know."
"Yes, I suppose he was. Laddie can handle it, can't he?"
"I can take up a lot of the slack."
I suppose,"
Joan said absently.
"Shall I wake you for dinner?"
"No, let me sleep straight through."
"As you wish."
She left the room, closing the door. Sandy went to bed. His last conscious thought was of Jock's shining eyes. Sandy woke in a dark room. He picked up the bedside clock just after 3 a.m. He switched on a lamp and saw a folded note on his bedside table. "I'm at the hospital, J." Sandy started getting dressed. As he got off the elevator, Sandy saw the little group outside Jock's room. Joan, Laddie and his wife Betty, and Angus still in his white coat. "What's happened?" he asked.
"Daddy had another stroke,"
Joan said. "Well, how is he?" Angus spoke up.
"Dad, Granddad died immediately."
Sandy sank onto a bench. "Poor Jock," he said. Laddie spoke. "He had a long and productive life. I think this is exactly how he would have wanted to go."
"Perhaps you're right," Sandy agreed.
"I think we should all go home," Laddie said. "I've phoned the funeral directors. Let's meet tomorrow for lunch and discuss the arrangements."
"Fine," Sandy said. "Come to lunch at our place," Joan said.
Laddie nodded and bade them good night. Sandy put a hand on his son's shoulder. "Why don't you come home with us and stay for lunch tomorrow?" The three of them took a cab back to the Fifth Avenue apartment. Sandy tried to think about the future, but he was too sad. The following morning, Sandy went for a walk. He stopped at a payphone and dialed a number. "Hotel Pierre," the operator said. "Mr. Peter Martindale," Sandy said.
Hello?
"It's your traveling companion of yesterday."
Oh, yes. How are you?
"I'm not sure. Perhaps we could meet, very discreetly."
Of course, Peter replied. I'm looking out at Central Park. If you enter from the corner of Fifth Avenue and Central Park South, you come to a row of benches. I'll be sitting on one at 4 o'clock. Sit at the other end and read a newspaper. Don't acknowledge me.
4 o'clock, then,
Sandy said. He hung up.
They sat down to lunch at 1 o'clock. When the dishes had been cleared, Laddie took a document from his pocket. "Father left explicit instructions," he said. "I wish my ashes to be buried in my family's plot in Aberdeen, Scotland. My will is in my office safe, and a copy has been deposited with my attorney. It's dated January 1st of last year."
Laddie laid the document on the table.
"I have given the funeral directors their instructions. I went to the office and removed the will."
He removed another document from his pocket.
"Its instructions are very simple. There is a bequest to Angus of $5 million in trust until his 30th birthday, and one to Sandy of $500,000 to be paid outright. He left the company to Joan and me in equal shares. I am his executor. Does anyone have any questions?"
Everyone was silent.
Laddie rose. "I think I should get back to the office."
He left. Angus kissed his mother. "If you'll excuse me, Mother, Dad, I have to be back at the hospital." He left Sandy and Joan sitting at the table. Joan spoke first. "I expect this must come as a shock, Sandy."
"What?"
Sandy said, popping out of a daze. "The will and the bequest to you."
"Well, it wasn't what he had intended as recently as last week," he replied.
"What do you mean?"
"I mean that he intended to leave me the wine division. He said he would be making a new will shortly."
"Did anyone else overhear this?" Joan asked.
"No, but he said he would tell Laddie, and of course his lawyer."
"Laddie and the lawyer made no mention of it. That document is his last legal testament."
"I'd better get to the office and help Laddie."
Sandy started to rise. "I don't think that will be necessary, Sandy," Joan said. "Laddie and I feel that you should leave the company."
"What?"
"We both feel that it would be best if Laddie managed the company alone. We'll buy your 3% at book value, or you can keep the stock if you wish. We would prefer to buy you out and keep all the stock in the family."
"Am I no longer in the family?" he asked.
"Sandy, our marriage has been empty for years. It's my feeling that we should end it. I've been seeing someone else."
"Oh, and who would that be?"
"Terrell Dubois," she said.
"Holy Christ," Sandy said. Terrell Dubois was the chairman of the wine division's principal competitor.
"Sandy, I would like this to be amiable. You needn't move out immediately, shall we say the end of the month? I think it would be in your best interests if we handled this calmly."
"In my best interests?"
"Laddie and I are inclined to be generous if you are cooperative. I hope I make myself clear."
"You certainly do,"
Sandy said. "Around the end of the month we'll formalize our arrangements, and Angus can be told then."
"You're planning to sell the wine division to Dubois and Blanche, aren't you?"
"It crossed my mind. By the way, although you will be a free man at the end of the month, I wish you to keep up appearances until that time."
"Well, what sort of appearances?"
"Well, we have dinner invitations, and on Saturday night we have the Hamptons' Hunt Ball at the Waldorf. Will you behave?"
"All right."
"Thank you, Sandy."
She left the room. Sandy sat at the table, stunned. This went far beyond anything he had imagined. They were going to sell his wine division, and he was going to be on the street. Everything would be gone. His business, the London life, the grand apartment, the social status. He was out, and that was it. He got to the park early, picked a bench, and pretended to read his paper.
"Good afternoon. a voice said. "Don't look at me." Sandy resisted the temptation to turn and look at Peter Martindale. "You got here first," Peter said. "May I take that to mean that you are eager to get on with this?" "You may," Sandy replied. "You were drunk. Do you remember what we discussed?" "We discussed removing the errors in Strangers on a Train." "Yes, we did. Now we have to face what that means. You and I are contemplating each committing a murder on a stranger. Do you think you can do that?"
"All I have to do is pretend she's my wife," Sandy said. "What about you? Can you pull this off?"
"Oh, yes," Peter said. "Absolutely. I'll need your help, though, in planning it."
"And I yours," Sandy replied.
"Of course. We each have to do it without getting caught."
"Of course," Sandy replied.
"Our best defense, even if suspected, is that we are completely unacquainted with our victims, and with each other. We must never be seen in the same place again. We'll have to communicate through other means."
"What means?"
"Public telephones. You pick a couple of telephones in New York and memorize the numbers. I'll do the same in San Francisco. If either of us wants to contact the other, he calls from a public telephone, asks for, say, Bart, and is told by the other he has the wrong number. 2 hours after the call, he goes to the appropriate pay telephone and waits to be called there."
"That sounds like a good plan. Who goes first?"
"I'm already in New York. If you can plan something, I'll stay on and do the deed."
"How about Saturday night?"
"The day after tomorrow? Ideal. But what's the plan?"
"She and I are attending a charity ball. We've done this 100 times. We leave the apartment at 8 and take the elevator to the ground floor. She stays in the elevator, continuing to the basement, while I ask the doorman to get a cab for us."
"Why would she go to the basement?"
"Each apartment has a storage room. Her major jewelry is kept in a safe."
"It's always the same?"
"Always. She will want her diamond necklace, and that's kept in the safe."
"Very good. I like it," Peter replied. "How do I get into the basement?"
"I had extra keys made," Sandy said. "One to the outside door, and one to the storage room. I'll pass them to you."
He gave Peter the address. "That's near the Metropolitan Museum, isn't it?"
"Right. On the side street there's a flight of stairs leading to the basement door. Our storage room is the one nearest the door. Wait there for her. When it's done, get the hell out. That's all there is to it."
Peter went over the whole thing aloud. "Do you want me to get the keys back to you?"
"No, dispose of them immediately. They could tie you and me to the event. And be sure you don't leave any trace of yourself."
"Right. When I'm back in San Francisco, shall I call you at your office?"
"Call the apartment." He gave Peter the number. "And don't say anything unless I answer. Ask for Bart, then recite the number twice. When I come to San Francisco, I'll do the same. It would be better if we don't talk again until I come out there."
"Right," Peter said. "But call me on Saturday afternoon at the pier and confirm our arrangements. If it's a go, just say, 'This is Bart, everything is fine.' If not, say, 'This is Bart, everything is off.' If I shouldn't be in, leave the message."
"All right," Sandy said. "Anything else?"
"Suppose one of us is caught or suspected."
"I won't implicate you," Sandy said. "It wouldn't go any easier for me if I incriminated you, and vice versa."
"I agree," Peter said. "I wish we could shake hands on it, but I think we'd better just leave. You go first and leave the keys."
"Right. Goodbye, and good luck."
"Same to you." Sandy eased the keys from his pocket and set them on the bench. He got up and walked away. At the corner he looked back. The bench was empty.
Sandy walked slowly up Fifth Avenue, his heart pumping furiously. Joan deserved this for treating him as she had. She thought she could walk away with his business in her pocket, retribution for his unfaithfulness. But who was responsible for his being unfaithful? After Angus was born, she became icy, then simply hard. His role was to escort her to social events, a role he would play the last time on Saturday evening. By the time he reached the building, his heart had returned to its normal rate. He took the elevator to the apartment. It was Joan's, but soon it would be his. For 2 more days, Sandy held his secret, anticipating the event. He felt this way until he heard his son's voice on the telephone. "Hi, Dad. I've got a day off." It was Saturday, the morning of the big day. "How about some tennis?" "Sounds good," Sandy said. "Meet me at the racket club. We can have lunch afterward." "I'm on my way." When he saw his son, Sandy thought of old Jock. Jock would be ashamed of him, he knew. Their match was close, but Angus took him in 2 straight sets. Sandy's energy had gone elsewhere. They sat in the grill. Sandy mostly listened. Angus was excited about the approaching end of his residency. "I'm thinking about establishing a practice of my own," he said. "I'm thinking about a new kind of cardiology, one that concentrates on fitness and diet." "How will you attract your first patients?" Sandy asked. "I'll advertise. My inheritance will make it possible. Mom and Uncle Laddie are my trustees, and I'm sure they'll go along with the plan." "I'm sure they will." Angus looked embarrassed. "Dad, I'm sorry about the will. I don't know why Granddad treated you the way he did." "He told me a couple of weeks ago that he was going to leave me the wine division," Sandy said. "He died before he could execute a new will, I guess." "That's terrible. What are you going to do?" "Well, I don't want to work for Laddie." Angus nodded. "I figured something like that. I'm planning to budget $1 million for my practice, and you can use the other $4 million to start a new company." Sandy fought tears. "Son, that's a very kind offer, but I don't know what I want to do." Angus placed a hand on Sandy's forearm. "I want to help. I'll make Mom and Uncle Laddie see it my way." Sandy raised his beer mug in a mute toast. Walking back, Sandy's emotions were in turmoil. He planned to murder Angus's mother, or have her murdered, and tomorrow he would have to face his son. Sandy now asked the hard question, "Am I a murderer?" "I'm not a murderer," he said aloud, "and I never can be." He stopped next to a payphone. He dialed the number. "Hotel Pierre," a woman's voice said. "I'd like to speak to Peter Martindale," Sandy said. "One moment." A ringing ensued, then stopped. "Would you like to leave a message?" "Yes, and it is most urgent." "It's our practice to put the message under the door," she said. "Mr. Martindale is unlikely to miss it." "Good. Please tell him that Bart called and that everything is off." "I've got that," she said. "Mr. Martindale should have it soon." Sandy continued his walk. He felt lighter on his feet and in his heart. On Monday he'd see a good lawyer and find out what could be done to negotiate a better settlement. He could get started again. Maybe he could find some investors. His son had already expressed a willingness to help. He walked on, reflecting on how close he had come to ruining his life. He must have been temporarily mad, he thought. At 7:45, Sandy slipped into his dinner jacket. Satisfied, he went into his study and picked up the telephone. He dialed the Pierre and asked for the concierge. "This is Mr. Bart," he said. "I left a message a couple of hours ago for Peter Martindale."
"Oh, yes, sir, the urgent one. I handed it to him myself."
"Did he read it in your presence?" Sandy asked.
"Yes, sir, he did."
"What was his reaction?"
"He looked relieved. He checked out an hour ago."
"I see. Thank you," Sandy said. He hung up, feeling elated. "Are you ready, Sandy?" Sandy looked up, surprised. Joan was ready on the stroke of 8 o'clock. "Yes, let's go down. Alfred is collecting us first, and we'll pick up Laddie and Betty on the way." "Fine," she said. The elevator stopped at the main floor. "I'll go down with you," Sandy said suddenly. "That's not necessary, Sandy." "Well, it's dark down there." "You're very solicitous this evening," she said. The old elevator door took some time to close, and as it began to, Albert stopped it. "Excuse me, Mr. Kinsolving, but Mr. Laddie is on the car phone for you." "All right," Sandy said. "Alfred, will you go down to the basement with Mrs. Kinsolving?" Sandy got into the back seat. He picked up the phone. "Laddie?
Yes, Sandy. Betty is unwell. She's a distinct shade of green. Will you forgive us?
Well, of course, laddie. Tell Betty I hope she feels better soon.
Right, laddie said. See you later.
He hung up. Sandy glanced at his watch. 8:10. No sign of Joan and Albert.
Mr. Kinsolving?
Sandy jumped. Barton, the doorman, stood at the car door. Yes, Barton?
I saw you in the car. Can I get you anything?
No, thank you, Barton, but could you look in the basement and see what's keeping Mrs. Kinsolving and Albert?
Of course, Mr. Kinsolving.
Barton disappeared. Sandy closed his eyes.
Mr. Kinsolving!
Barton's voice was urgent.
Yes, Barton? You better come with me, sir,
Barton said. Sandy got out of the car. She's having trouble with the lock, he thought, but his heart was beating fast. Sandy led the way from the elevator. He saw something blocking the corridor. Alfred. Sandy knelt beside the elderly man. "Alfred," he said, "can you hear me?" Alfred moaned. Then Sandy noticed something seeping down the servant's neck. "Good God," Sandy breathed. "Barton, call an ambulance."
"I've asked Jimmy to do that, sir,"
Barton replied. Sandy moved down the hallway. The door to the storeroom stood ajar, but no light came from inside. Sandy flipped it on. Joan lay on her back, her eyes open. There were dark bruises on her throat. The door to the old safe was open. "Joan!" Sandy cried, slipping his hand under her head. It came away bloody.
"Is she all right, sir?"
Barton asked. Sandy felt for a pulse. "No, Barton," he said. "I don't think she's all right." Sandy sat in the lobby anteroom. A uniformed police officer stood just outside. Had he done everything he could to prevent this? He had thought so. Now it was too late.
"Mr. Kinsolving?"
Sandy jerked back to the present. A tall black man stood beside the sofa. A shorter white man stood slightly behind him. "Yes," Sandy managed.
"I'm Detective Alan Duvivier," the black man said.
"How do you do?" Sandy said.
"This is Detective Leary," Duvivier said. "I wonder if we might go to your apartment and talk."
"Of course," Sandy said. He led the detectives into his study.
Mr. Kinsolving, do you think you're up to answering some questions?"
"I think so."
"Can you please tell me everything that happened this evening, and be as thorough as you can?"
"We were going out to a charity ball at the Waldorf," Sandy said. "We left shortly after 8 and took the elevator downstairs. I got off in the lobby, and Joan continued to the basement."
"Had you done this before? Allowed her to go to the basement alone, I mean?"
"Nearly always," Sandy said. "We have a storage room in the basement, and Joan's furs and her best jewelry are kept there, the jewelry in a safe. Usually Joan will retrieve what she needs while I get us a cab."
"But you didn't need a cab this evening, did you?"
"No, a car was calling for us. I was going to ride down with Joan, but when the doors opened to the lobby, the driver, Alfred, said that I had a telephone call on the car's phone, so I asked Alfred to accompany Joan."
"And who was on the telephone?"
"My brother-in-law, Laddie. That is, John Bailey, Jr."
"And how long did you speak with him?"
"A few minutes. He had called to say that his wife had become ill and they wouldn't go to the ball. Barton, the doorman, asked me if there was anything he could do for me, and I asked Barton to see what was keeping Joan and Alfred. He came back and asked me to come downstairs." Duvivier nodded.
"Did anyone else witness any of this?"
"Jimmy, the lobby man, was there. He might have."
"Mr. Kinsolving, had the building ever had intruders in the basement before tonight?"
Yes. Late last year the custodian found 2 boys trying to break into one of the storerooms. The outside door hadn't closed properly. They ran."
"Did this ever happen again?"
"Oh, I don't think so. The custodian would know."
"Perhaps you could tell me a little about the building and its tenants," Duvivier said.
"Well, there are 19 floors with a single apartment on each. Each occupant owns his apartment."
"May I ask, did you purchase your apartment for cash?"
"Yes, from my wife's trust fund."
"Your wife was wealthy, then?"
"Moderately so."
"Are you independently wealthy, Mr. Kinsolving?"
"No. I earn a good living and I have some investments, but my wife has always been wealthier."
Mr. Kinsolving, have you and your wife recently had any domestic difficulties?
Best to be frank. Earlier this week, my wife expressed the intention of getting a divorce. She was in love with another man.
And his name?
Terrell Dubois.
Is Mr. Dubois known to you?
Yes, he is a business competitor.
What is your business, sir?
I am Senior Vice President of John Bailey & Son. I run the wine division.
And Mr. Dubois is in the wine business?
Yes.
Mr. Kinsolving, would a divorce have made a material difference in your employment?
Possibly. Joan and Laddie's father, Jock Bailey, passed away earlier in the week.
I see,
Duvivier replied.
The basement has been cleared by now. I wonder if you would accompany us there?
All right. The three men started down.
What is in the safe?
Duvivier asked. Oh, in the way of valuables, only my wife's jewelry. They walked toward the storage room. Have you figured out what happened? Sandy asked.
We believe the intruder was already in the building. He probably waited for Mrs. Kinsolving to open the storage room and the safe.
The safe was open?
I'll come to that. Apparently, Alfred hung back a bit, and the intruder struck him. He then went to the storage room and attacked Mrs. Kinsolving.
I saw marks on her neck, Sandy said. Was she strangled?
Yes, but her head struck the concrete floor first. She was probably unconscious when she was strangled.
I'm glad of that, Sandy said. But why would he have strangled her? He didn't strangle Alfred, did he?
No. Perhaps she saw his face and he didn't want to witness.
I see, Sandy muttered.
Would you open the safe, please?
Sandy worked the combination, then swung open the door. Duvivier pointed a small flashlight at the interior.
Would you see if there is anything missing, please?
Sandy extracted a velvet-lined tray. A necklace of diamonds and a matching bracelet are both gone. They fit these indentations here. She was wearing her diamond wristwatch.
He waited until she had opened and closed the safe before he attacked her,
Duvivier said.
Your wife was wearing no jewelry, so the pieces you mentioned were taken.
Duvivier faced Sandy.
Mr. Kinsolving, did you have anything to do with your wife's death?
Sandy looked directly at the detective. Certainly not. Sandy looked at his son and his brother-in-law. The three of them sat in the study. What do you think of the chances of the cops catching the guy, Dad? Angus asked.
I don't know, really. When he tries to sell the jewelry, that could get him caught.
Laddie shook his head.
He won't do that. He'll break up the pieces and sell the stones separately.
I suppose so, Sandy replied. Laddie, since you've already been making Jock's arrangements, I'd be very grateful if you do the same for Joan.
Of course, Sandy. Do you have any preferences?
Angus spoke up. Why not just do the same as for Grandad? I'll take the ashes to Scotland and bury them together. I think Joan would approve of that, Sandy said.
Thank you, son. I'll see to it, Laddie said. I'd better get home.
Before you go, Laddie, there's something I have to say. After our lunch, Joan told me she intended to divorce me.
What?
Angus blurted out. It came as a surprise to me, too, Sandy said. Joan told me that she had been seeing Terrell Dubois and planned to marry him. Is that the guy you compete with? Angus asked. Yes, that's the one. Sandy noted that Laddie had expressed no surprise. The police asked me if I had anything to do with Joan's death. Laddie spoke up.
But you were on the telephone with me. You couldn't have done it.
I think they thought I hired someone. That's ridiculous, Angus said immediately.
Preposterous,
Laddie agreed. I appreciate your support, Laddie, Sandy said. Angus, why don't you stay here tonight? Angus rose. Thanks, Dad. I'll take you up on that. He went off to bed.
Laddie rose. I'd better be off.
Laddie, Sandy said, rising with him, I expect Joan told you some of this.
Laddie shrugged. I didn't think I should say anything until she had spoken.
She said the two of you wanted to buy me out.
I would have talked with you first.
She would have asked you to sell the wine division to Terrell Dubois.
And undercut you? I'd never have done that.
Thank you, Laddie.
I'll come in on Monday and we'll talk. On Monday, Sandy went to the company's headquarters. "Oh, Sandy," Laddie said, "there's been a development." Sandy followed Laddie into his office. A man rose as Sandy entered. "Sandy," Laddie said, "I don't know if you know Walt Bishop from our legal department." "No," Sandy said, offering his hand. "Sit down, please," Laddie said. "Walt, perhaps it would be better if you told Sandy." "Of course, Mr. Bailey," Bishop said. "First of all, Mr. Kinsolving, I want to apologize for not being able to tell you sooner. I was on vacation." Sandy shrugged. "You see," Bishop continued, "the week before last, I came into the office on Saturday morning. I ran into the elder Mr. Bailey." "Father often worked on weekends," Laddie said. "Mr. Bailey asked me to write his will." Sandy froze. Why didn't he just call his lawyer? "It was a spur-of-the-moment thing," Bishop said. "Anyway, he dictated some provisions to me, and I went back to my office to prepare the document." Sandy looked at Laddie. "You didn't know about this?" "He had the stroke on Sunday night. I suppose he would have mentioned it on Monday." "Fortunately," Bishop said, "we have a software package that includes a sample will, so all I had to do was add the relevant paragraphs, and I had a will for Mr. Bailey to sign." "I have the will here," Laddie said. "I have no doubt that it's legal and fully expresses Father's intentions." "Thank you, Mr. Bailey," Bishop said. "It's pretty much like the one we read last week," Laddie continued, "except Father increased Angus's trust to $10 million, and he left the wine division to you. Joan got a third of the remainder, and I got the other 2/3. "Thank you, Mr. Bishop," Sandy said. "I would have thanked you more last week," he thought, "before I instigated the death of my wife." Laddie spoke up again. "Walt, thank you for coming to me immediately, and now Mr. Kinsolving and I have some talking to do." "Of course, Mr. Bailey," Bishop said. He departed. "Sandy," Laddie said, "the wine division must account for 1/4 of the value of the company. Joan's third of the remainder would account for another 1/4, and you already own 3%. You are now the majority shareholder of John Bailey and Son. Ironic, isn't it?" "More ironic than you know," Sandy thought. "He told me he was going to do it," Sandy said. "I thought he just hadn't gotten around to it." "He must have had some premonition," Laddie said. "It was unlike him to do anything precipitously." "Yes, that's true," Sandy said. "What do you want to do?" Laddie asked. "Laddie, I don't want your company," Sandy said. "I'll pull the wine division out and sell you my share of the liquor company. That way each of us will remain his own boss." "Done," Laddie said. Sandy stood. "And now I think I'd like to take a walk." Sandy walked up Park Avenue. He was his own man. He felt omnipotent. Now he was going to have everything he'd ever wanted. As he let himself in, he heard Angus on the phone. "Hi," Angus said. "You weren't gone long." "I didn't feel like working," Sandy replied. "Many calls?" "A steady stream," Angus said, "and one wrong number. Some guy asked to speak to Bart." Sandy's feeling of omnipotence vanished. This is the end of Side 1. Sandy walked up Madison Avenue with a lighter heart. He had just left John Bailey and Son, where he had sold his interest in the liquor division. He gazed idly into shop windows. He had a cashier's check in his pocket for $28 million. Soon he stood in front of Cartier Jewelers. He walked into the store and was greeted by a young woman. "May I show you something, sir?" she asked. "I'd like to look at a wristwatch, please," he said. "Of course." She led him to a case filled with watches. Sandy picked up a Panther watch. "How much?" "This model is $15,000, she said. "I'll take it," he said, and handed her his Platinum American Express card. He signed the credit card receipt, then slipped on the new watch. "Thank you for shopping with Cartier." He left the shop. He wanted to feel the check in his pocket for a while longer. He took as long as possible to reach his next stop, a handsome building off Fifth Avenue. He was observed by a uniformed man on the other side of the heavy door of glass. The man showed him in.
"May I help you, sir?"
"Yes, I'd like to open an account," Sandy replied.
"Did you have an appointment, sir?"
No. My name is Alexander Kinsolving. Your bank was recommended by Arthur Shields of Wayne & Shields, my accountants." The guard spoke briefly on a telephone, then returned.
"Mr. Samuel Warren will see you, sir."
He showed Sandy into a small elevator.
"You'll be met at the top."
Sandy stepped out. "Mr. Kinsolving, will you follow me, please?" She led him to double doors and opened one. "Mr. Warren, Mr. Alexander Kinsolving."
Warren extended his hand. "How do you do?" he asked. "I'm Sam Warren. Please call me Sam. It's Sandy, isn't it?"
"That's right," Sandy replied, shaking the man's hand. "I didn't know you were expecting me."
"Arthur Shields said I might be hearing from you. Now, Sandy, how can I be of service?"
"Are you acquainted with John Bailey & Son?" Sandy asked.
"Of course."
"I've just acquired the wine division and some cash for my interest in the liquor division. Your bank comes highly recommended."
"Well, that's very flattering," Warren said. "Let me tell you a little about Mayfair Trust."
The two men talked for an hour, and Sandy was impressed. Finally, Warren asked,
"Shall I open accounts for you, then?"
"Yes, please." Sandy took the cashier's check from his pocket and handed it to Warren.
Warren chuckled. "Oh, and how long have you had this?"
"A couple of hours, I suppose."
Warren rolled his eyes. "Oh, dear, the earnings we've already lost."
"Sam, it's going to be a pleasure doing business with you." Sandy entered his Madison Avenue shop. He took the stairs to his second-floor office. His secretary handed him telephone messages, and the first one read, "Call Bart at 4 p.m. A number preceded by the San Francisco area code followed. Sandy ground his teeth. There was no avoiding this, he supposed. At 3:45 he left. He found a payphone. At 4 sharp he dialed the number. "Well," Peter Martindale's voice said, "nice to hear from you. By the way, congratulations on your business transaction. I expect my little contribution improved your position." "I asked you not to do it. I left the required message." "Sorry, old fellow, didn't get the message in time," Martindale drawled. "That's a bald-faced lie," Sandy said. "The concierge told me he handed it to you personally." "A little white lie," Martindale admitted. "I thought it best to proceed. Now it's time for your part of our deal." "We have no deal," Sandy nearly shouted. "I feel no obligation to you whatever. Is that clear?" "My friend, you are very ungrateful," Martindale said. "Don't you understand? I've set you free. Now all you have to do is set me free. You'll feel better when you understand your position." "I have no position." "Oh, but you do, dear man. You now have a personal obligation to me, and if you do not satisfy it, I will bring you badly to grief." "I don't see how you can do that," Sandy said. "I can pull that very soft rug from under you very quickly, and I will if I have to." "You want to meet?" "Yes, and in San Francisco," Martindale said. "Be here by the end of next week. Make the call as agreed, and I will give you further instructions." Martindale hung up. Sandy walked away. He was damned if he'd communicate further with that man. He had gone little more than a block when something struck him hard. He fell to his knees, gasping with pain. His left arm was wrenched behind his back, and something struck him in the back of the neck. Sandy lost consciousness. "Mister," someone was shouting, "you're all right." Someone turned him onto his back. Sandy blinked. A black man in coveralls was holding his head off the cement floor. "What happened?" "I don't know. You was lying on my loading dock. Hang on, I'll get an ambulance." No, Sandy said, struggling to get to his feet. The man helped him up. "You want I should call a cop?" "No, I wouldn't know what to tell a cop." He felt for his wallet and his checkbook, both there. "Nothing seems to have been stolen," he said to the man. "I'll just be on my way. Thanks."
"Well, if you're sure you're okay," the man said.
Sandy started toward his office. His back and neck hurt like hell. He glanced at his watch. There was no watch. Then it dawned on him. He had been mugged for his wristwatch. $15,000 right down the drain. He told his secretary to hold his calls. What had he gotten himself into? What was it the man had said on the plane? There were 2 flaws in Strangers on a Train. Only one of the 2 men had agreed to the plan, and one of them was crazy. Well, he hadn't agreed, and Martindale couldn't be entirely sane. He was going to have to persuade him to drop this madness. In San Francisco, Sandy checked into the Ritz-Carlton, then ordered dinner. A little after 10, he went downstairs. He headed toward the main shopping district, coming to a stop before the Martindale Gallery. It was past 10:30, and he was surprised to see a woman working at a desk at the rear. Sandy walked on. About 35, yellow hair. All in all, very attractive, he thought. The following morning, he telephoned the gallery. "This is Bart," he said.
"Ah, Bart," Martindale said. "Ready to meet?"
"Yes."
"Go take the boat for the Alcatraz tour. There's one at noon. That okay?"
"Yes."
"I'll find you." Martindale hung up.
Sandy took a taxi to the pier and bought a ticket for the tour. At the last moment, Peter Martindale stepped aboard. Sandy avoided looking at him. He disembarked with the other passengers. The tour guide greeted them, then set off into the prison proper. As the group moved through the building, Sandy caught a motion in the corner of his eye. Martindale stood a few feet away in a cell. He beckoned. Sandy stepped into the cell.
"I thought this would be an appropriate setting," Martindale said. He indicated a steel bunk. "Take a pew."
Sandy sat down.
"Well, here we are," Martindale said. "I wanted you to find out what sort of place you'll end up in if you fail to hold up your end of the bargain."
"There was no bargain,"
Sandy said heatedly. "Please, Sandy, we're way past that now. There is a bargain because I say there is. Face up to it. You have no choice."
Sandy sat silently.
"I see I'm going to have to convince you," Martindale said.
He took out a plastic bag and tossed it to Sandy. Sandy caught the bag. His Cartier watch was in it.
Martindale smiled. "This little exercise is to help you understand that you are vulnerable."
"How did you—"
"Really, Sandy, $500 in the palm of the nearest hoodlum. I watched the whole thing."
"But I called you in San Francisco."
"Of course you did. Call forwarding took care of the rest."
He removed a small cellular telephone from his pocket. "If you're so good at hiring hoodlums, why don't you just hire one to solve your problem?"
"Because hired hoodlums will turn on one. I want someone who can't do a deal, Sandy, and that's you."
Sandy shook his head.
"Think of what you have now, Sandy. You're in a new world. Accounts at Mayfair Trust and all that."
Sandy looked up at him.
"Of course I followed you. Now, let's get down to business."
"I won't do it," Sandy said quietly.
Martindale sighed. "I'd hoped this wouldn't be necessary. Sandy, it would be just as easy for me to get to your son."
"Now, wait a minute."
"Works all those nights at the hospital," Martindale said. "Walks home. Dangerous place, the Upper East Side."
Sandy's shoulders sagged. "What do you want me to do?"
"How long will you be in San Francisco?"
2 more nights. I'll be up in the wine country tomorrow, and I'll leave the day after."
"You'll be back in the city tomorrow night?"
"I can be."
"Good. Make your way to my gallery a little after 9 in the evening. It's at—"
"I know where it is."
Martindale smiled. "Good man. I'll tell Helena that a client is coming in from New York, late plane. Now, let me describe her to you."
"I saw her there last night. She was sitting in the rear of the gallery going through a ledger."
"That's my girl," Martindale said. What she was doing, of course, was looking for just the right moment financially to let the axe fall.
"She's still working in the gallery in spite of your situation?" Sandy asked.
"Oh, we're nothing if not civil," Martindale said. "You see, I'm not meant to know about her relationship."
"She's very attractive."
"Of course. She's the perfect California girl." Martindale leaned forward. "Down to business now. The street is deserted after 10. Greet Helena, chat with her, wander over to the little Turner on the back wall. That will put you within a couple of feet of the desk. There's a loaded pistol in the top right-hand drawer. Take the pistol and use it." He pointed at his heart. "One here." He pointed at his forehead. "Then one here, just to be thorough. I hope I don't have to remind you to wear gloves. We don't want any residue on your hands, do we?"
"I suppose not."
"Then mess her up a bit. The money box is in the top left-hand drawer. Take the cash. Have dinner on me. Leave the gun there and go out the back door." He put a hand on Sandy's knee. "And then, old cock, you're a free man and very rich. Go back to New York, live your life, enjoy. You and I won't see each other again."
Sandy put his hand on top of Martindale's. "Make very sure of that, Peter, because once she's dead, if I ever hear from you again, I'll kill you. Do you understand me?"
"Of course, dear chap," Martindale said. "I'm surprised you hadn't thought of that before. But you see, you might as well kill Helena. Much safer, and you'd have my help."
"Let's get out of here,"
Sandy said. "You've got it all, then?"
"All of it."
"Good. You go back the way you came." He glanced at his watch. "The group should be back in a couple of minutes. I'll catch them up from behind. You first."
Sandy walked toward the tour's starting point. He gazed around the prison. Truly, this would be hell on earth. Shortly the group appeared, and he joined the crowd. As he boarded the boat, he saw Martindale get on. On the trip back, the sun came out. Sandy stood in the dusty soil of a Napa Valley vineyard and listened to Mario Scotti, its owner, extol his latest vintage. "Mario, I will increase last year's order by 20% if you will find me a vineyard to buy." "Larson," Mario said. "Lars Larson?" Sandy knew the property. It was well located, pretty. "Why does Larson want to sell?" "He's spent all his money." "You know how much he wants?" "I can find out." "Find out." Sandy sat in the restaurant Tres Vignes and sipped the Larson Cabernet. Larson sat across from him, watching. "Very nice," Sandy said. Larson's face fell. "That's all. Very nice." "It's excellent," Sandy admitted. "It's superb," Larson said. "You won't get my price down by bad-mouthing my wines." "Tell you what I want to see, Lars. The books, the machinery, the figures, the lot. Put a package together and send it to my bankers." He wrote down Sam Warren's name and address. "If we like what we see, we'll make you a substantial offer." Larson said, "I'll introduce your banker to my lawyer. We'll see what happens." Larson shook hands and left. Sandy whipped out his portable phone and called Sam Warren. "Sam, I found a property in Napa, and it's a gem." He told Sam about Mario Scotti. "So why doesn't Scotty buy it himself?" "Nobody else around here can afford it. I've asked Larson to send you a complete package on the place, and I'd like you and your people to go over it." "Of course. We'll have a ballpark figure for you within a few days." "Scotty could be of help in setting a price. Talk to you next week." He hung up. He could not believe his good fortune in locating such a good property so quickly. His lifelong dream. Then he remembered what he had agreed to do. Suddenly Sandy lost his appetite. He asked for his check. It was a 90-minute drive back, and he had to decide what he was capable of. On the way, he stopped at a men's store and bought a lightweight reversible raincoat, a tweed cap, and a pair of thin driving gloves. Sandy picked at his room-service dinner. He got into dark gray trousers, a black turtleneck sweater, and his blue blazer. He stuffed a tweed cap into one pocket of the raincoat and the driving gloves into the other, then rolled the raincoat and tucked it under his arm. What else? Glasses. He rummaged into his briefcase and found an old pair. He slipped them on and regarded himself in the mirror. A sad but altered face stared back. He left his room. On the street he walked toward the gallery. He stepped into a doorway, unrolled the raincoat, and put it on, plaid side out, then donned the tweed cap, the gloves, and the glasses. He forced himself to continue. The streets were deserted. He turned the last corner. In the middle of the block, where the gallery was, stood a little group of people, and one of them seemed floodlit. There were other lights, too, red and blue. He moved down the block. On the other side of the ambulance were 2 police vehicles. Sandy stopped across the street from the gallery and watched. Inside, a clutch of men stood talking, and there was the flash of a camera. The photographer was shooting down at something behind the desk. The television crew began moving toward the ambulance, and Sandy caught the eye of the cameraman. "What happened?" he asked. "Lady got herself snuffed," the man said. Sandy started walking again. When he had gone a couple of blocks, he removed the raincoat, the cap, and the gloves, and stuffed them into a wastebasket. Back at the hotel, Sandy waited impatiently until the news came on. He recognized the reporter. "Police are withholding the name of the victim pending notification," he was saying. "All they will say is that a gun was used." A police detective blinked into the light. "The victim was a Caucasian female in her late 30s, he said. "There was a single gunshot wound to the head. The perpetrator was probably looking for money. The desk had been rifled." The reporter faced the camera again. "The owner of the gallery, Peter Martindale, had gone to Los Angeles earlier for a speaking engagement." Sandy switched it off. This was baffling. What the hell was going on? The telephone rang. "Hello? It's Bart. How was your evening?" Sandy hesitated. You have the wrong number." "Will I find it necessary to call again?" "I should think not," Sandy replied. "All is well, then?" "That depends on your point of view." "Don't play games with me," he said. "The game is over," Sandy replied, then hung up. It was, he thought. It was over. And he was not a murderer. Sandy walked out of the hotel into the sunshine, rested, fresh, and looking for his car. "Mr. Kinsolving," the doorman said, "your driver had a flat. Will you take the hotel car with our compliments?" Sandy looked at the limousine. "Well, that will do nicely." "I hope you won't mind sharing with another guest." "Of course not." Sandy climbed into the forward rear seat. A moment later, a tall woman gathered herself into the rear seat and opened a New York Times. Sandy looked her over. Mid-30s, auburn hair, hazel eyes, good clothes. She seemed absorbed in her Times. Sandy was more interested in his San Francisco paper. The story was on page 3. Nothing much new. The gallery's owner still had not been located. Sandy checked in at curbside, but the woman followed her bags inside the terminal. She was the first woman he had found attractive since Jock Bailey's stroke. He reached the gate just as first-class boarding was announced, took his seat. He was pleased to see the woman enter the tourist compartment. Pity she wasn't flying first class, he thought. At LaGuardia, the limo driver was waiting. Sandy beckoned the man to follow him to baggage claim. The woman's bags came before his, and he hurried to catch up with her as she walked toward the taxis. "May I offer you a lift into town?" he asked. "Seems the least I could do since I shared your car in San Francisco." She looked at him. "Where are you going?" "Madison and 74th, but the driver will drop you wherever you're going." "Thank you. Yes," she said. He held the door of the car as she got in. "My name is Sandy Kinsolving," he said. "I'm Kara Mason." Where are you headed, then?" 63rd, between Park and Madison." "Nice block. Have you lived there long?" "A while." "What brings you to New York?" "I live here." "What do you do in the city?" "I'm an interior designer." "With a firm?" "With a partner." "What do you specialize in?" "Everything from the domestic to the industrial." "As it happens, I'm in the market for a designer." She looked doubtful. "Really?" "Are you available?" "When?" "Immediately." "Why me?"
As it happens, you're the only interior designer I know. Do you think you could show me some examples of your work?
I suppose so. What sort of work are you looking to have done?
I have a 14-room apartment that was decorated by my late wife. Our tastes didn't agree.
I expect I could give you a few ideas.
I also have a wine business on Madison Avenue that needs attention.
Do you have a business card? She asked.
Sandy handed it to her. And you?
I'm afraid I don't have a card with me, she said.
She scribbled her name and number on a sheet of paper and handed it to him. When could you bring over some photographs of your work?
Would this evening be convenient? She replied.
Sandy smiled. Around 8?
I may be busy later, she said. Let's make it 7.
Sandy handed her another card, this one with his home address. 7 it is.
Just there, driver, she said, pointing to a brownstone.
The driver opened the door, and Sandy got out to say goodbye. See you this evening.
Thanks for the lift, she said, following the driver to the door.
She disappeared inside. The doorbell rang at 7 promptly. Come in, he said, showing Kara Mason into the living room. Can I get you something to drink?
Some mineral water, if you have it.
Sandy went to the wet bar. He poured 2 glasses and handed her one. What do you think? He asked.
Is there a room that was done the way you wanted it?
Yes, my study. Come with me. He led her into the room. Yes, she said, this is more like you. How can you tell? We just met.
I can tell, she said.
It's what I do. She seated herself on the sofa and opened a portfolio.
Come look through my work.
He sat next to her and slowly flipped the pages. He stopped at a photograph with a view of the Golden Gate Bridge. You've worked in San Francisco, too?
I grew up there, she said, and I was employed by a firm of architects. I did some independent work, too. This was one of the jobs.
I like it very much. He continued through the portfolio, looking at both San Francisco and New York rooms. I'm impressed, he said.
But you didn't see anything that made you want to move in.
No.
Do you have some particular style in mind?
Not exactly. It's hard to explain.
May I take a leap in the dark?
Of course.
You'd like it if the apartment had the air of the most comfortable men's club in the world.
He smiled. You've nailed me.
Well, just look at this room, she said.
Thank you. I'm glad you like it.
I think it would be best to order some traditional upholstered pieces as a base and then pick out accompanying pieces at good shops and auctions. I'd go for the best antiques.
What does good antique furniture cost?
I think we can find good pieces for between $15,000 and $30,000.
Give me a total ballpark figure.
Between $500,000 and $1 million.
And your fee?
10% of everything.
Agreed.
We should be able to get you some money back, too. The things your wife chose are auctionable.
Well, whatever you can get for them, I'll add to my budget.
I like your style, Mr. Kinsolving.
Sandy.
She raised her glass. Kara, tell me something about your background, she said.
Grew up in Connecticut, went to Amherst, met my wife in college, produced a son. Joined my father-in-law's liquor business and eventually started the wine division. He died 6 weeks ago and left me the division.
When did your wife die?
5 weeks ago.
How?
She was murdered.
Kara put down her glass. Do you mind telling me about it?
He related the events of that Saturday night.
That's terrible, she said.
Yes, it was.
Were you devastated?
I was numb. I have, in fact, remained numb until tonight.
What do you mean?
I mean that this is the first pleasant interaction I've had with another human being since it happened.
Were you and your wife very close?
We had grown apart.
Do you miss her?
No. I'm glad to have my son, though. He's finishing up a residency in cardiology at Lenox Hill. Now you.
I grew up in San Francisco, went to Berkeley, joined my father's firm as a designer. When he died and the firm closed, I went to another.
Ever married?
Once, for 3 years. A mistake.
Whose?
Mine.
Kara, I'm very attracted to you. I'd be very pleased if you would come to bed with me right now."
She shook her head. "Too soon. But please, don't think that's a flat turn down. You're very attractive."
"Thank you."
She smiled. "Do you mind if I go now?"
"Yes, but I can live with it. How about dinner this weekend?"
"Saturday's good for me."
"And for me."
He walked her to the door. "Good night," she said, offering her hand. He took it.
"Good night. I'll look forward to Saturday," he said.
"So will I," she replied.
Sandy sat in Sam Warren's office and listened to the presentation on the Larson winery. "Here's where we are," the banker said. "Larson wants $12 million for the property."
"What's it worth, in your opinion?" Sandy asked.
"I think we need to come up with a maximum amount we're willing to offer."
"And what is that?"
$8,800,000. We think that's about right. I'd suggest offering 8, then working your way up."
Sandy stood up.
"Sam, I'll get back to you."
He shook hands, then left.
He walked over to Fifth Avenue. In a newsstand, he picked up a San Francisco paper. He went to a deli, ordered a sandwich, then opened the paper. The story was still on page 3. It began, "Gallery owner found. Peter Martindale, owner of the Martindale Gallery, where a killing took place earlier this week, was located in Los Angeles by detectives from San Francisco Homicide. Mr. Martindale had left for Los Angeles to make a scheduled speech at UCLA, and the gallery owner was speaking at the university at the time the murder occurred." Well, thought Sandy, he certainly covered his own tracks well enough. He read on. "Police theorized that the killer entered the gallery through an unlocked rear door, shot the woman, and stole the cash box and a pistol from the desk. The cash box was recovered from a street wastebasket and is being examined for evidence. The pistol has not been recovered." So some street kid had unknowingly done Sandy's work for him? It seemed too good to be true, Sandy thought. And when he read the next paragraph, he knew his intuition was correct. "The murdered woman has been identified as Sally Fleming, the gallery's assistant manager, who had remained after closing hours to meet a client from New York." Sandy nearly choked. The woman wasn't Martindale's wife? He had come within minutes of murdering the wrong woman. And Helena Martindale was still alive. Sandy left the restaurant. Parked at the curb was a Lincoln Town car with his name on a card in the window. The driver was leaning against the car. "I'm Mr. Kinsolving," he said to the man, then got into the back seat. "Let's go." The driver drove away. Sandy could see the driver's eyes in the rearview mirror. "So?" he asked. "I guess you thought you got lucky, didn't you?" Sandy didn't say anything. Martindale chuckled. "I can just see the scene. You arrive at the gallery, there's all this mess, and you think God has saved you from this awful fate. What the hell happened?" "I think Helena asked Sally to meet the customer, and she just got unlucky. They've arrested the guy, you know." "No, I didn't know." "Kid, 18 or 19. They found the gun on him when he got busted in a dope deal. Pity it wasn't Helena, huh?" Sandy felt trapped. "What's next in your plans?" "Oh, my plans haven't changed. They've just become more difficult. Helena has moved in with Saul Winner." "Winner? Is that the painter she's been seeing?" "Yes." "I've seen his work at the Modern." "Oh, yes, Saul is a very important artist. He lives in one of those big old houses on Nob Hill. It's going to take some time for me to work out how your job should be done. Can you come to San Francisco on a notice of, say, a day or two?" "I don't know. Maybe." "Well, then, when I have it all together, I'll call you." Sandy watched him drive away. He could only wait and hope for a way out. Sandy picked up Kara Mason for their Saturday night dinner date. "Where are you taking me for dinner?" "Café des Artistes. I know you've probably been 100 times, but I do love the place." "Actually, I've never been there." "You amaze me. It's one of New York's landmarks." "Well, I guess I've led a sheltered life," Kara said. "That, my lady, is coming to an end," Sandy proclaimed.
They sat, sated, amid the ruins of an assortment of desserts, sipping white wine.
"And what is this one?" she asked.
"It's a Chateau Coutet, 1961, a very great white Bordeaux."
"It's the perfect ending to the evening," she said.
"No, it isn't," he replied. "There are other appetites yet to be satisfied." She gazed at him.
"Yes," she said.
Sandy beckoned the waiter. "Check," he called. When Sandy woke, he opened his eyes, and his vision was filled with a tangle of auburn hair. The top of Cara Mason's head was a lovely sight, he thought. When he moved, she snuggled closer. She lifted her head and opened an amazingly green eye. "This is wonderful," Sandy said.
"No, it's better than wonderful," she said. "I just can't think of the word right now."
"Has it been a long time?" he asked.
"Long time," she replied. "Forever."
"Why?"
"You weren't around."
He laughed. "You must have had other offers."
"They weren't you. You seem to be perfect, Sandy Kinsolving. Is there something terribly wrong with you I don't know about?"
"Probably. What do women want, anyway?"
"This," she said, snuggling closer.
"It's funny. That's what men want, too."
"I'm hungry," she said.
"Me too." Sandy slipped into a robe and found one for her. He shaved and showered, and he caught the aroma of bacon frying. He headed for the kitchen. The table was set for two. There was a pitcher of orange juice on the table, and she was struggling with a champagne cork. He took the bottle and opened it. "A Buck's Fizz?" he asked.
"A what?"
"Champagne and orange juice."
"That's a mimosa."
"In London, it's a Buck's Fizz. I like it better."
They dove into breakfast silently, exchanging only glances.
"What are you doing for lunch?" he asked finally.
I haven't even finished breakfast," she protested.
"Well, this will take a little planning. I need an answer."
"I'm all yours, if I can go home and change."
"You're on. What are you doing for dinner? You won't have to change."
"Oh, all right."
"And breakfast? It's part of the package."
"If I'm late for work, you'll just delay getting your sketches," she said.
"I can live with that."
He put down his fork.
"Let me make a couple of phone calls." The light twin-engine aircraft set down gently. They had left Teterboro an hour before.
"Where are we?"
Cara demanded. She was blindfolded.
"You'll have to guess," Sandy said.
The airplane taxied to a stop, and the pilot cut the engines. "We'll meet you here at 10 tomorrow morning," he said to the pilot. Sandy took their two bags in one hand and Cara's arm in the other.
"Can't I see where we are?"
"Not yet."
He led her to the little car, stowed their bags, and helped her into the front seat.
When they were away from the airport, he took off her blindfold. She looked around.
"So where is this?"
"It's called Martha's Vineyard." They sat on the deck at the Edgartown Yacht Club and sipped brandy. The sun was well down, and the stars shone.
"It's all so perfect," Cara said, sipping her cognac.
"It is now," Sandy replied. "It's as though some great piece of a puzzle fell into place." She laid her head on his shoulder.
"That's a lovely thing to say."
"Cara, don't you think you could give my little design job a lot more attention if you were living in the place?"
She looked at him. "Are you moving?"
He laughed. "A little slow on the uptake, aren't you? I'm not going anywhere."
"Oh,"
she said, and her shoulders sagged. "What kind of answer is that?"
He was stung with disappointment. "It's not an answer. It's a stall," she said.
"Take your time."
She did. She gazed out over the water, and her face was inexpressibly sad. Finally she turned to him. "After what's happened to us this week, your idea is perfectly logical. It's just that I can't."
"Some impediment?"
She nodded. "That's fair to say."
"Another man?"
She shrugged. "Sort of. My life is a muddle, and I have some straightening out to do." She put her hand on his. "Believe me, I'd like nothing better than to move in with you."
"Then do it," Sandy said.
"It wouldn't be fair to you." When I'm on my feet, I'll tell you, and we can start from there. Will you wait?
How long?
I honestly don't know. There's no easy solution, but now I'll move faster. I hope you don't think that's too mysterious.
It's pretty mysterious, all right, but I'll trust your judgment.
Thank you, Sandy, she said, then kissed him. He kissed her back.
There's no impediment to going to bed with each other, is there?
She smiled and kissed him again. None whatever.
The following morning they flew back toward New York, each silent and sad, lost to the other. When he dropped her off at 63rd Street, she kissed him passionately.
Thank you, she said.
Not at all.
Can I show you some sketches on Wednesday?
He nodded.
7 o'clock?
He nodded again, and she was gone. On Monday afternoon, Sandy met with Sam Warren. "Larson's lawyer called," Warren said. "He says $10,500,000 is the least he'll take."
"Well, we haven't even made an offer yet," Sandy said.
"True." The phone rang, and Warren picked it up. He listened, then handed the receiver to Sandy. Sandy took the phone. "Hello?"
"Sandy," his secretary said, "somebody named Bart called. He wouldn't leave a last name." She gave him the number.
"Thanks, Becky."
Sandy walked into Central Park looking for a phone. He dialed the number Martindale had left. "Well, hello, Sandy," Martindale said.
"What do you want?"
Sandy asked. "I want you in San Francisco on Thursday."
"Why?"
"Because I've worked it out. I'll pick you up at the Ritz at 5 o'clock and brief you. Then I have to get out of town."
"Thursday?"
"Don't worry, it's going to be a snap." He hung up.
Sandy hung up, swearing. He had to find a way out of this, he thought. He went back to his office. "Becky," he said to his secretary, "get me on a Thursday morning flight for San Francisco."
"Sure thing. Kara Mason called." He went to his desk and rang her number. "Hi, Sandy," she said. "Something's come up."
"What's the problem?" he asked.
"I have to go to Charleston tomorrow. I promise I'll have the sketches ready on Monday evening, though. Can we go over them at 7 and then have dinner?"
"Sure," he said. "Monday evening at 7.
"Thank you for understanding," she said.
Sandy hung up. 7 days until he could see her again. And he had something awful to do before then. Sandy sat in the Four Seasons grill across from his son and sipped a good Burgundy. He had a good thought. He took out his checkbook, wrote a very large check, and handed it to Angus. "Jesus," Angus said, shocked. "What's this for?" "I want you to do something for me." "What?" "You were going to take your grandfather's and mother's ashes to Scotland, weren't you?"
"Yes, next week. I want you to keep going. Anywhere you want to go. Take your girl with you. See Europe, see the world.
I don't want you back until September, at the very earliest."
Angus gazed at the ceiling. "You know, I did have this fantasy about picking up a Porsche and touring."
"Great idea. Do it."
3 months?
"Make it 4. One last thing," Sandy said to his son. "I want to be the only person who knows how to get in touch with you, except for Sam Warren, of course."
"Why?" Angus asked.
"Never mind why. Send all the postcards you like, but don't give anybody else an itinerary. Give me your word."
"This seems very mysterious to me, Dad."
"Trust me."
"Okay, you have my word. Nobody knows my whereabouts but you and Sam Warren.
And Maggie, of course, the girl I told you about."
"Angus, Maggie is going to be with you. You really think she'll come?"
"If she won't accept an offer like that, then you've chosen the wrong girl."
"I'll tell her you said that."
"Good."
Sandy hugged his son, then walked back to his office.
Step 1. He'd put his son out of reach of Peter Martindale. Step 2 was next. Sandy stood under the portico at the Ritz-Carlton and watched the Lincoln come to a stop. Sandy got in.
"How are you, Sandy?"
Martindale asked cheerfully. "I'm here. What's going on, Peter?"
"We're going to take a little drive," Martindale replied, "and then all will be revealed."
Sandy didn't want anything revealed. He wanted to be free of this maniac.
"Here we are," Martindale said. They were turning into the parking garage of a tall office building. It was like every other parking garage, dimly lit, lots of reinforced concrete. "Pay attention," Martindale said. "Right, then left, then down a level, then left again. Please note the elevators on your right." "Why are we here, Peter?" "Patience, Sandy, patience. Now watch." Martindale stopped at a barrier, took a plastic card from his pocket, and inserted it into a box mounted on a steel post. The barrier rose, and Martindale drove into a separate parking lot and pulled into a parking space. "A car park within a car park, you see," he said, "reserved for members of the law firm Winthrop and Keyes and their clients." "I see," Sandy said. "Why do I care?" "One more thing to note," Martindale said, "and then I'll tell you. Look over there." He pointed. "The telephone booth?" Sandy said. "Correct." "What of it?" "It's very conveniently located. Tomorrow afternoon at 2:30, my wife will attend a deposition at Winthrop and Keyes. Helena has, you see, filed for divorce. She will arrive in a red Mercedes convertible. The car wears a vanity license plate. Dealer, it says. She will stop at the entrance to the private car park, be admitted, and park her car. She will proceed to the elevators, ride upstairs, and give her sworn testimony. She will return to her car and drive away. Is that clear?" "Yes." "But she will not drive away, for you will be waiting in the telephone booth. You will see Helena as she enters her car. Then you will leave the booth. Here, take this." He handed something wrapped in a handkerchief over the seat to Sandy. Sandy unwrapped the handkerchief. It was a short-barreled pistol, and the extension of the barrel was a silencer. "Where on earth did you get this?" he demanded. "It's illegal, isn't it?" Martindale laughed. "Well, of course it's illegal. It's a .38. 2 in the head should do it. Take her handbag, keep any cash, then dump the bag in the waste receptacle over there, where it will be found, thus establishing a motive of robbery." Martindale handed a key to Sandy. "Then get into this car, which will be parked here, and drive to my gallery. There is a car park across the street. Park it there, leave the key in the glove box, and lock the car with the button on the door handle. Then go and sin no more." "Where will you be?" Sandy asked. "In Tucson, where I will have gone to an opening. I will take part in the deposition by telephone, then attend the opening, thus establishing my presence in another city." Sandy was silent. "Is this simple enough for you, Sandy?" "How will I know it's your wife?" Sandy asked. "By her bright blonde hair," Martindale said, "and by the car which I have described." "The other woman had bright blonde hair," Sandy said. "The other woman is tragically dead," Martindale replied. "Incidentally, don't touch the gun. Wear gloves and some sort of coat when you fire it, and discard both. Is everything perfectly clear?" "Yes." "Repeat your instructions." Sandy repeated what he was to do. "Perfect. You really are a quick study, Sandy." "And when this is done, Peter, it's over." "Absolutely. When it's done, you and I will never again see each other or even speak. Unless, of course, we happen to be seated next to each other on an airplane." He chuckled. When Sandy woke the following morning, he found that a fax had been slid under his door. Larson had come down to $9 million even on his selling price. He telephoned Warren. "Hello, Sandy," the banker said. "I trust you got my fax?" "I did, Sam, and I'm delighted," Sandy replied. "I'm inclined to give Larson the $9 million. What do you think?" "I think you're right. It's not worth quibbling about." "When do you think we can close?" "It'll take a few weeks, but we'll get a sales agreement signed immediately. Let me call Larson's lawyer," Sam said. "Call me back, then," Sandy said. He hung up and ordered breakfast, but he wasn't hungry. His elation was mixed with dread. Warren called back. "They've agreed," he crowed. "The deal's done." Sandy showered, shaved, and got dressed. He left the hotel and bought the same items he had thrown away not long before: a reversible raincoat, a tweed hat, and thin leather driving gloves. At 2:45, Sandy arrived at the office building wearing the raincoat, plaid side out, the cap, and sunglasses. The pistol banged against his thigh as he walked into the garage, following the route of the day before. As he walked into the law firm's private parking area, he saw the red Mercedes with its distinctive license plate, Dealer. He went straight to the telephone booth. It will all be over soon, he kept telling himself. His mind raced from one thing to another. He saw Kara's beautiful face. Then he was firing the silenced pistol, and blood was everywhere. He jerked back to reality. He saw the elevator door close and watched as the lights above it illuminated, one by one. Then the order of the lights reversed. The car was coming down. He held his breath as the doors opened. Maybe it would be somebody else. But a blonde woman stepped from the car and walked purposefully toward the law firm's private parking area. She walked toward the red Mercedes, stopped behind it, and opened the trunk. Sandy opened the door of the telephone booth and stepped out, pulling the pistol from his pocket and holding it slightly behind him. This time there must be no mistake. "Excuse me, ma'am," he said, nearly choking. She spun around, startled. "Yes," she said. Then she looked at him, seeming confused. "Sandy?" she asked. "What on earth are you doing here?" "Kara?" he asked. Then he looked down and saw a small pistol in her hand, pointed at his chest. They sat in the Mercedes convertible, both breathing hard. Kara's gun was in her lap. Sandy had surreptitiously returned the silenced pistol to his pocket. "Sandy, what are you doing here?" she demanded. "I'm buying a vineyard. I was in a lawyer's office upstairs," he half lied. "Your turn. You told me you were going to Charleston. Why are you here?" "Charleston was just a cover." "I don't understand," he said. "Please tell me what's going on." She sighed. "I've lied to you," she said. "My name isn't Kara Mason. It's Helena Martindale. Kara is a family nickname, and Mason is my mother's maiden name." "Go on." "I haven't been living in New York. I was in trouble, and my partner, Taya, offered to hide me." "Tell me about the trouble." I was married to an Englishman named Peter Martindale. We lived here where he runs an art gallery. I came to learn that he was a little strange. I told him I wanted a divorce, and he didn't take it well." "He didn't want the divorce?" "No. Not because he was in love with me. He never was, I think. The money for the gallery came out of my inheritance, and he wanted more." "And you wouldn't give it to him?" "No. He'd used up nearly half my funds setting up the gallery. He never repaid the money I'd loaned him. When I told him I planned to divorce him, I moved in with a friend. That was 7 months ago." "Were you having an affair?" Sandy asked. No. He's a painter named Saul Winner. Saul is in his 60s and has a 19-year-old boy for a lover. I continued to go to the gallery to keep an eye on my investment. Peter got stranger and stranger, and one night a couple of weeks ago he asked me to meet a client from New York at the gallery, late while he was in Los Angeles. I wanted to go over the books with our bookkeeper, Sally, but I got a call from Saul, who was having a big spat with his boyfriend. I had to listen to him cry in his beer, and when I came back, Sally had been murdered. I thought maybe I was the intended victim. I ran. I drove to Saul's house, got my clothes, then checked into the Ritz-Carlton under the name Kara Mason. I called Taya, and she said, "Come to New York, be my partner." It was a lifeline, and I grabbed it. You were in the car from the hotel. I was about to grab at you, too, but I felt I had to settle things with Peter first. "And did you?" "Yes. We agreed on a property settlement. I got my freedom. I was upstairs signing the final papers. I'm now a free woman." "I'm glad to hear it," Sandy said. "Why the gun?" "I haven't changed my will yet. I think Peter may be capable of killing me for my money." Sandy sat and thought. So Martindale had lied to him about everything, and he still wanted her dead. Jesus Christ. "Where's Peter now?" Sandy asked. "In Tucson. He called from there while I was in the lawyer's office."
Is it your lawyer who's upstairs or Peter's?
Both. Different lawyers represent each of us.
Here's what I want you to do. Go back upstairs and make a new will. Make sure the lawyer lets Peter know immediately. That should remove any motive for murder.
He dug his hotel key out.
Where have you been staying?
At Saul's house.
Don't go back there, and don't call Saul. Who owns this car?
I do.
Do you know somewhere you could store it where Peter won't find it?
I have some friends who are out of the country, and I have a key to their house. There's a big garage.
Good.
He took the pistol from her hand.
Where did you get this?
It was my father's. I'll just leave it in the car.
All right. Call a cab from the house, then pick up enough new clothes and things to last you a couple of days.
He handed her his key.
This is to my suite at the Ritz-Carlton. Go there and wait for me.
What are you going to do?
I'm going to help you disappear, Sandy said. And I'm going to keep calling you Kara.
She smiled. I'd like that.
He kissed her. Go on back to your lawyer's office. I'll see you at the Ritz.
He walked her to the elevator. When she was on her way up, he went back to Martindale's Lincoln, put on the chauffeur's cap and the dark glasses, and drove out. He found his way to the gallery and parked at the lot as instructed. He put the cap and sunglasses on the front seat, the ignition key in the glove compartment. Leaving the car door open, he looked around the garage. It was empty of people. He walked around looking for a soft surface, and he found it in a stack of cardboard boxes. He fired 2 quick shots into the boxes. He was surprised at how quiet the weapon was. He rewrapped the pistol and tucked it under the driver's seat. Then he locked the car and walked out to the street looking for a wastebasket. He got rid of his new raincoat and cap, then hailed a cab. On the ride to the hotel, he went over his plan carefully. Sandy got to the hotel first and returned Sam Warren's call on one of his 2 lines. Hi, Sam. What's happened? The sales agreement has been faxed to me, and I'm faxing it to you. We'll have the original on Monday. Great news. The other phone line rang. Got a call coming in. See you Monday. Sandy punched the button. Hello? It's Bart.
Yes?
How did it go?
I've satisfied all my obligations to you, Sandy replied. The package we discussed is in the trunk of the red car.
And where is the car?
It's rather wet.
What?
You heard me.
I told you to leave the package in the garage. I wanted it to be found.
You told me no such thing, so I improvised. It's taken a dunking, and you won't be seeing it again. Nobody will.
That wasn't part of the deal.
I handled it as I saw fit.
But you can't prove to me that the package is in the car, can you?
Sandy allowed himself a chuckle. I guess you're just going to have to take my word for it, Bart. Don't ever try to contact me again, because if you do, I promise you I'll terminate the relationship. Do you understand me?
I believe I do.
Good. Now go fuck yourself.
Sandy hung up, trembling. He stretched out on the bed and closed his eyes. He woke with a start as the door to the suite opened. He sat up and saw Kara walk in, carrying a suitcase. The blonde hair was auburn again. He embraced her.
I like your hair better this way, he said.
The wig is in my handbag.
I can't tell you how glad I am to see you, he breathed.
We're leaving at 6 for New York. Did you see anyone you know?
I saw Saul, but he can keep a secret. He's been told to say that I took my bag with me when I went to the meeting, and he doesn't know where I went from there.
Sounds good.
He glanced at his watch. I'm afraid we don't have time to do what I'd planned to do when you got here.
She laughed.
It was nearly 5 a.m. when they arrived at Sandy's apartment. Sandy woke up shortly before noon, rested and happy. Kara was still sound asleep. He kissed her on an ear.
She murmured, turning over. What a lovely way to be wakened.
What's your schedule for the coming week? He asked.
Well, I have a dinner meeting with my most important client on Monday evening, and after that...
Is he also your only client? Sandy asked.
I'm afraid so.
I'm afraid your only client is going to be leaving town on Tuesday, he said. I'm going to London.
Her face fell. "For how long?"
He smiled. "How long do you want to stay?" She smiled. "I'm going too?" "I want to get you out of the country, and I have a perfect business excuse. I have to show you the London shop so that you can design the New York store to resemble it." "Not just a dirty weekend, but a dirty business trip," she said. "I love it." He climbed into bed beside her, laughing. "Also, I want you to meet my son, Angus."
"Is he in London?"
"He will be. His new girlfriend will be with him."
"I'll be on my best behavior," she said.
"Only in public, I hope."
"Only in public. Where are we staying?"
"The Connaught. I think it will meet your standards. Well, that reminds me, I better go and fax them now." The 747 landed at Heathrow just after 9 p.m. Sandy and Kara were met by the Connaught's representative as they left customs, and in a moment they were ensconced in a very large limousine. "I feel very regal," she said, laughing. "Is this the first time you've been to England?" "It is," she replied. "When Peter went to London on buying trips, I had to stay behind and run the gallery." "I'll make sure you see everything," Sandy said. The next morning, Sandy left while Kara was still dressing and walked to the shop so that she could present herself at a later hour. It was a little soon after Joan's death, he thought, for the staff to conclude he was seeing another woman. Maeve O'Brien, the office manager, greeted him warmly. "Did you have a good flight, Mr. Kinsolving?" "Yes, thank you, Maeve."
"All of us here are so sorry about your double tragedy. We hope you're feeling better."
"Yes, I am, and thank everyone for me, will you? Oh, by the way, Miss Kara Mason from New York will be calling at the shop this morning. She's an interior designer. Will you send her up as soon as she arrives?"
"Yes, of course, Mr. Kinsolving. I've put the monthly figures on your desk. I expect you'll want to have a look at them."
"Thank you, Maeve. I think I'll do that right now." At 8:30 they were seated at a corner table of the Connaught restaurant. Half an hour earlier, Sandy had met Angus's girlfriend, Maggie, and Angus had met Kara. By the time the first course arrived, they were the best of friends. Dessert was creme brulee. Sandy was just beginning his when he looked up and saw Peter Martindale. Sandy watched frozen as Martindale and another man were shown to a table in the far opposite corner.
"Something wrong, Sandy?" Kara asked. Her back was to the room.
No, I was just entranced by this dessert."
"Me too," she said, smiling at him.
Sandy summoned the maitre d'. "Mr. Chevalier," he said in a low voice, "someone I would rather not speak to has just come in. He's sitting in the far corner. I would be grateful if you would move that screen to block his view of us." "Of course, Mr. Kinsolving," the man said.
Sandy resisted the impulse to bolt from the restaurant.
On their way out, Sandy sidestepped to the front desk. "Is there a Mr. Peter Martindale registered here?" he asked.
The young woman flipped through the register. "No, sir," she said.
"Thank you," he replied, then got onto the elevator. In the suite they ordered coffee, then shared a bottle of port. "How long will you be in town?" Sandy asked his son.
"We're leaving for Stuttgart tomorrow to pick up the car."
"And then?"
"France.
Maggie wants to visit the wine country, so we're driving to Beaune on our first night. Would you like me to set up a tour of a vineyard for you?"
"Dad, that would be wonderful." "It certainly would," Maggie chimed in. "It'll probably be a bore for Angus since he's grown up around wine, but I'm really excited about it."
"You get better and better," Sandy said. Sandy stared at the ceiling as Kara slept soundly beside him. This business with Peter Martindale was becoming too complicated. Tomorrow he was going to have to tell Kara everything. In effect, he would be trusting her with his future. He hoped he knew her well enough for that. They were in the middle of breakfast before Sandy plucked up enough courage to begin talking. "I have some things to tell you," he said. "I hope you'll hear me out before you start making judgments."
"I'll do my best," she said.
"I'm acquainted with your ex-husband," he began. Her eyebrows went up.
"You know Peter?"
"We met on an airplane. God, it seems like a year ago, but it was only in May."
"Oh," she said, relieved. "Is that all?"
"I'm afraid not," he replied. "There's a great deal more."
He began with the movie on the airplane, with his drunken spilling of his life story, then went on to Peter's sly suggestion. "He really proposed that?" she asked, shocked.
"Yes."
"He's even crazier than I thought."
"Probably."
Sandy resumed his story, took her through the reading of Jock's will and his meeting with Joan. "Oh, God, Sandy, I'm so sorry about Mr. Bailey's will," Kara said.
"Don't be sorry, just listen."
He struggled on, telling her of his meeting in the park with Peter, then his message cancelling their pact. Kara was pale. "Sandy, you did the right thing. Peter would have gone through with it."
"Peter did go through with it," Sandy said.
Kara's mouth dropped open. "Are you telling me that Peter murdered your wife?"
"I am."
"Didn't you go to the police?"
"I couldn't do that. Peter would have implicated me, and I'd be in jail now."
"But you backed out of the bargain."
"Peter would have denied that. Don't you think he could have convinced the police that I was his accomplice?"
She nodded. "Yes, he could have. So how did you keep your part of the bargain?" "Wait a minute," she said, looking frightened. "Is that what you were doing in that garage? You were there to murder me?"
"Kara, please, listen. I was there to warn Helena Martindale that her husband intended to kill her. I had no intention of killing her or you."
This was not quite true, but he could never let Kara know he'd even considered it. "Now I'm beginning to get it," she said. "You told Peter that you'd done it, didn't you?"
"In the circumstances, it seemed the best thing to do. He thinks that your body is in the trunk of your car at the bottom of San Francisco Bay."
She slumped against her chair, dumbfounded. He went on.
"So as long as Peter thinks you're dead, you're safe from him. Do you understand that?"
She nodded.
"I mean, sooner or later he'll find out you're alive. I brought you to London to keep that from happening for a while."
He looked at her closely.
"Are you all right?"
She nodded. "I'm just running through it in my mind. Who knows I'm alive that might inadvertently let Peter know?"
Sandy said ruefully, "I have fantasies about strangling him with my bare hands."
She laughed again. "Believe me, I've had the same fantasies."
"There's something else you should know," Sandy said.
"Oh, God, not something else."
"I'm afraid so. Peter is in London. He was in the restaurant downstairs last night when we were having dinner."
Kara was alarmed. "Did he—"
"No, he didn't see us. I had the maitre d' move a screen to block his view, and he's not staying in the hotel."
"Thank heaven for small favors," she said, relaxing.
"But I'm inclined to think that if Peter is in London, we should be back in New York. How much more do you have to do in the shop for the New York designs?"
"I've taken photographs and made sketches," she said. "That's really all I need."
"Then maybe we'd better head home. There's a flight early this afternoon."
"Then let's go." I suppose it would be too much of a coincidence for Peter to be on the same flight.
"I think that's stretching it, even for Peter." Exactly on time, the aircraft began to taxi toward the runway. Then, abruptly, the big jet started back the way it had come.
Ladies and gentlemen, a voice said, "this is your captain speaking. We've been directed to return to the boarding gate to pick up a passenger."
Sandy stiffened. He had no doubt, somehow, who the new passenger would be. The aircraft came to rest at a boarding gate.
Sandy braced himself.
Then, to his surprise, not one but half a dozen passengers entered first class, and none was Peter Martindale. They were Arabic-looking men. Sandy thought he recognized a balding, heavy-set man with a thick mustache, but he could not place the face. Soon they were flying west. Sandy turned to Kara. "Does the man in the front row look familiar?" Kara shook her head. "Probably some Middle Eastern politician. With our luck, there's a bomb on board, too." Sandy laughed. "You know," Kara said, perusing the program in her hand, "I've never seen strangers on a train. Maybe I should."
"Thank God we have individual screens," Sandy said, rolling his eyes. "I'm watching Singin' in the Rain."
He placed his film order and reclined his seat. Somewhere during the Hollywood party scene, he fell sound asleep.
They arrived at Kennedy on schedule. They were soon through customs, but not as quickly as the party of Arabs.
Sandy, pushing a luggage cart and with Kara on his arm, emerged into the arrivals area just behind the group. Flashbulbs were going off, and he could see a phalanx of newsmen shouting questions at the Arabs. The next part of their reception seemed to happen in slow motion. A dark-skinned man among the reporters suddenly produced some sort of automatic weapon. Sandy turned toward Kara and knocked her down with his body, falling on top of her. As they fell, gunfire erupted, followed by screams and general chaos. The firing stopped, but not the yelling. Sandy waited 10 seconds before raising his head. The first thing he noticed was that his left forearm was covered in blood. He decided it was not his. Sandy looked down at Kara. "Are you all right?" he asked. "I'm all right. What happened?" She looked at the Arab party. "Oh, dear God," she whispered. Sandy helped her to her feet. "Sandy, you're hurt," Kara yelled. "Your arm." "It's not my blood," he said. He looked down and saw whose blood it was. The familiar-looking Arab lay at his feet, his chest a mass of blood. "I'll tell you something," Kara said. "I've led an exciting life since I met you." In another 3/4 of an hour they were in Sandy's apartment unpacking. "Tomorrow let's send for the rest of your things at Taya's," he said. "There's not much still there. I feel awfully lucky," she said, slipping her arms around his waist. "To be alive, of course, but to be here with you, too." "Me too," Sandy replied. "Let's hope our luck holds." Somehow he had the feeling that with their picture all over the papers, it wouldn't hold long. The ringing woke Sandy early. He glanced at the bedside clock as he reached for the phone. 7:15. "Hello? Dad? Angus, where are you?" "I'm in Bone. Are you all right?" "Of course I'm all right. Why wouldn't I be?" "You're all over the Herald Tribune this morning," he said. "You and Kara." "What?" "Your picture at the airport. You're standing right behind that Arab guy." "Oh." After all, there had been a lot of photographers there. "Yeah, it got a little too exciting there." "I'm glad you weren't hurt. I couldn't see you in the second photograph." "We ducked when the shooting started." "Maggie says hello." "I thought Maggie was terrific. So did Kara." "Maggie liked you both, too, and I think Kara's a knockout." "Where are you headed after today?" "Bordeaux, more wine country." "Good news. Keep me posted on your whereabouts, okay? Call in every few days." "We will. Well, I better get going." "Glad you called. Keep in touch." Sandy went to the front door for the Times. Spread across the front page were photographs of the shooting. He and Kara could be seen clearly. He took the paper into the bedroom. "Have a look at this," he said. "It's a hell of a way to get on the front page, isn't it?" she said. "Do you think this will make the San Francisco papers?" "Let's cross that bridge when it collapses under us." "What are you going to do about Peter?" "I don't know yet. It's going to take some thought. Maybe he'll cool off and stay away," he said. "I'm not going to count on it," Kara replied. Sandy hit the work hard as soon as he got to the office. The phone rang. Sandy picked it up. "Hello?" "You take a very nice picture," he said. "So does Helena." Anger welled up in Sandy. "You son of a bitch, I told you never to call me again." "You lied to me, Sandy." "You deserve to be lied to. You can't be trusted." "You wound me." "If I hear from you again, I will." "Threats now?" "Promises. Listen to me very carefully. Back off. Give it up. Lead your life, let us lead ours. You'll be a happier man, believe me." "I create my own happiness." "Don't be self-destructive. You got what you wanted from her. Be happy with what you have." "Sandy, Sandy, you just don't get it, do you?" "Get what?" There was a click, and the connection was broken. Get what? What did the man want? What would make him go away? Sandy hung up the phone at a loss about what to do next. Alan Duvivier sat at his desk. A patrolman walked over. "FedEx for you, Al," the man said, tossing the envelope on his desk. Duvivier looked at the sender's address, a Thomas Williams with an address in Los Angeles. Peculiar. He ripped open the envelope and shook out its contents. A smaller envelope fell out, then a small sheet of paper. He picked up the paper. "He paid me to do it," the message said. And if it was anonymous, the return name and address would be fiction. Duvivier dropped the paper onto his desk, aware that fingerprints might be a factor. He picked up the smaller envelope and shook out the contents. 2 keys fell onto the blotter.
What the hell?
He asked himself aloud. He took a small fingerprint kit and dusted the letter. He dusted the keys, too, but no prints appeared.
Something, Al?
Leary asked from the next desk.
I don't know, Duvivier replied. Take a look at this.
He handed over the letter and the keys.
It was sent from Los Angeles yesterday. Has any case we've worked lately had anything to do with Los Angeles?
Leary thought. There was a tourist murdered last month. He was from L.A., but that wasn't our case. Is the envelope addressed to you specifically? Duvivier looked at the envelope.
Yes, and there were no prints on either the letter or the keys.
Leary held up the 2 keys. Both copies. One looks like a Yale, the other, I'm not sure. Outside and inside doors of an apartment house, maybe? Like a brownstone?
Duvivier said, Want to take a drive?
What else have we got to do? Leary said.
In the car, Duvivier sat up straight. Head over to Fifth Avenue, he said.
Huh?
Fifth Avenue.
You had a thought?
I've had a thought.
Leary parked the car and the 2 men got out.
I follow your thinking, he said.
It's a long shot, but worth a try,
Duvivier replied. They crossed the street, and Duvivier led the way down the steps. He tried the first key. It wouldn't turn. He tried the other key. It worked. He opened the door.
Come on, he said.
They walked to the storeroom. Duvivier inserted the key into the lock and turned it.
Yes,
he said.
They're Kinsolvings, then, Leary said.
Yes, and he gave them to someone who's now in Los Angeles. Come on, let's get out of here.
In the early afternoon, Sandy sat in Sam Warren's conference room and listened to the phone conversation between Sam, Larson, and his lawyers in San Francisco as they worked through the sales documents for the vineyard. At 4 o'clock, Sandy affixed his signature to each of the documents, and their representatives in San Francisco presented the seller with a cashier's check for $9 million. At last, Sandy had his vineyard. He walked back to the wine shop, slowly contemplating the improvements he would make. There was an owner's house. Kara could decorate that. There was the change of name. Kara could design the labeling. In the autumn, his first vintage would come in, the first wines bearing the name Kinsolving Vineyards. He was a happy man. He was less happy when back at the shop his secretary intercepted him.
Mr. Kinsolving, that Detective Duvivier and another policeman are waiting in your office.
Thanks, Sandy replied, gritting his teeth. He walked into his office. Afternoon, gentlemen, Sandy said, taking a seat at his desk. Have you found my wife's killer? Duvivier walked toward the desk.
We're making real progress,
he said, placing a pair of keys on the desktop. Sandy looked at the keys. He knew they could have come from only one place. Keys? He asked.
The keys to your building's basement and your storeroom,
Duvivier said, then stopped. Whose keys? Sandy asked.
The killer's keys,
Duvivier replied. You've arrested him? He hoped to God not.
Not exactly, Leary said.
You're pursuing him, then?
Not exactly,
Duvivier replied. Detective, please explain exactly what is going on here, Sandy said.
We thought you might like to tell us, Duvivier replied.
Tell you what?
How the killer got the keys.
Why do you think I know that?
I believe you had your keys duplicated, then gave the duplicates to the killer,
Duvivier said. Then you're a fool, Sandy replied, and you're wasting both your time and mine. Where did you get the keys? He knew, but he thought he ought to ask.
They were given to us by the murderer. He says you paid him to kill your wife.
Then he's lying, Sandy replied. But you haven't answered my question. Have you arrested somebody in the matter of my wife's murder?
It's you who must answer the questions, Mr. Kinsolving,
Duvivier said. Sandy stood up. You're wrong about that. Have you arrested my wife's killer?
Not yet.
Then get out of my office.
The two detectives exchanged a glance, then reluctantly left the office. Sandy sat at his desk. He was becoming very weary of Peter Martindale. Still, maybe this development was positive. The keys were the only physical evidence, and he had given up those. After all, Martindale couldn't implicate him unless he gave himself up, and he couldn't see Martindale sending himself to prison. He had played things correctly with Duvivier, he was sure of that. The only thing he wasn't sure of was Peter Martindale. Sandy and Kara sat in first class, bound for the West Coast. He spread out the Wall Street Journal and showed her the announcement of his acquiring the vineyard. "Oh, it's the Larson vineyard?" she asked. "I didn't know which one." "Are you familiar with it?" he asked. She sighed. "Yes, Peter sold Mr. Larson some pictures last year." "Peter's everywhere, isn't he?" "It seems that way sometimes." "Kara, what sort of man is he?" "Handsome, charming, witty, very clever, dishonest in his business dealings, if he can get away with it." "Is that all?" "Obsessive," she replied. "About what?" "Pictures, the gallery, his apartment, his cars, and—" "Yes?" "Me. By the time we'd been married a few months, I found it very confining." "How did his obsessiveness with you manifest itself?" "Jealousy, mainly. Peter is excellent at scenes. Words are his way. I mean, Peter is something of a coward physically." "Well, that's interesting." "How?" "Well, it doesn't sound as though he's one for confrontation. If he ever tries that, I'll know he's bluffing." "Either that or he'll have some advantage. Peter is brave only when he knows he's safe." "And yet he could do what he did to Joan and Albert." "An old man and a woman, yes, that's Peter's style." "Still, it took some sort of courage." "The courage of a bully," Kara said. "Did he ever hurt you?" She sighed. "Yes, just once. We had come home after a party where he'd thought I'd paid too much attention to another man. He hit me. I told him if he ever struck me again, I'd kill him in his sleep. He never did." "You're a brave woman." She laughed. "Braver than Peter, anyway." "Change of subject. I'd like you to do the design work for the Kinsolving vineyards. Labels, letterheads, signs, the owner's house, of course. Anything that comes up." "I'd be delighted. I'm sure I'll get some ideas when I see the place." "We'll be there before nightfall," he said. From the main gate of the vineyard, a tree-lined road stretched up to a Victorian house. "I hadn't expected such a grand place," Kara said. "Frankly, neither had I," Sandy replied. "I mean, I thought more in terms of a cottage." They drove up for a quick tour. "It's really very nice," Kara said, wandering through the rooms. "There are some nice pieces here, too." She stopped and looked at a large picture. "But not this, I think." She examined it closely. "You don't like this one?" Sandy asked. He consulted the inventory. John Wiley oil." "It's a fake," she said. "Peter sold Larson a fake Wiley." "It's valued here at $75,000, Sandy said. "I know it's a fake," Kara said. "I doubt if Wiley ever painted anything as crude as this." "Do you know an expert?" Sandy asked. "Saul Winner." "Invite him up for dinner, why don't you?" "You have something in mind, don't you?" she asked. "Peter has been crowding me too long. Maybe it's time I started crowding him." Saul Winner made a beeline for the Wiley oil. He laughed aloud. "The fucking charlatan," he said. "I guess he thought Larson was a hick." "Would you testify in court to that effect?" Sandy asked. "In a minute. I'd love to see the bastard squirm." Sandy called Larson. "Hello, Lars," he said. "I had a question for you. You bought some pictures from Peter Martindale, didn't you?" "Yes, a Wiley oil and a small landscape." "Did you ever have them authenticated?" "Oh, no, but Martindale gave me a certificate of authenticity. I think it's in one of the drawers of the sideboard." "Did anyone ever mention to you that the Wiley might not be authentic?" "No," Larson said. "Do you have some reason to believe it's not?" "Actually, I do. We have a house guest who's an eminent painter, and he says Martindale rooked you." "Well, I'll be damned," Larson said. I just trusted the fellow.
What did you pay for it? Sandy asked.
40,000. Martindale told me it's worth 75 now. Sandy, I'll be glad to reimburse you for its value.
Thank you, Lars, but I prefer it if Martindale reimbursed me. Will you join me in a lawsuit?
Damn right I will.
Please don't have any contact with Martindale, Sandy said. Let me handle it.
Whatever you say, Sandy. Tell the lawyers to send half the bills to me.
Oh, I think we'll let Mr. Martindale foot the legal bills, Lars. I'll talk to you soon.
Saul Winner said, Are you really going to sue Peter, Sandy?
I am, and Larson is going to join me in the suit.
Tell me,
Saul, do you know somebody at the newspapers to whom we could leak the story?
Oh, boy, do I. I can promise you half the front page of the Sunday Arts section.
Oh, good, Sandy said. As soon as New York was open for business, Sandy called Sam Warren.
Sam, an art dealer named Peter Martindale, sold Larson a fake. I want a very well-known lawyer, someone who'll nail Martindale to the wall. Then you want Harry Keller. Killer Keller, they call him. Got a pencil?
Sandy wrote down the name, address, and phone number.
Thank you, Sam.
Sandy hung up and turned to Kara.
Ever heard of this lawyer? He asked, handing her the slip of paper.
Killer Keller?
You bet I have.
And he's in the same building with my lawyer. That makes things convenient.
Harry Keller made them comfortable. Tell me how I can help you, Mr. Kinsolving.
An art dealer named Peter Martindale sold 2 pictures to a man named Lars Larson, the owner of a vineyard I recently purchased. The pictures were part of the property I bought, and I have been reliably informed that the larger of the 2, allegedly a John Wiley oil, is not genuine.
What is the value of the painting? Keller asked.
Larson paid Martindale $40,000 for it, and the dealer says the picture is now worth $75,000. It would be if it were genuine, Kara said.
Ms. Mason, do you have some expertise in this field?
I was married to Peter Martindale until recently. I worked with him.
In your opinion, is Mr. Martindale of such a moral makeup that he would perpetrate a fraud?
Indeed, yes.
Would you testify to that effect?
If you think it would help. The lawyer turned back to Sandy.
Mr. Kinsolving, what would you like to do about this?
I'd like to sue Martindale. Larson has indicated he'd join me in the suit.
What would you hope to accomplish in a lawsuit?
I want the current value of the painting, if it were genuine. I want Martindale to pay my legal bills.
That seems reasonable. In fact, I think we should be able to accomplish that in a settlement. Mr. Martindale has his reputation to think of.
I'm not concerned about Mr. Martindale's reputation, Sandy said. In fact, I think I would be performing a public service if this incident became public knowledge. Keller smiled slightly.
I suppose the news might get out. Have you considered criminal fraud charges?
I think the spotlight of public attention would teach him his lesson, not to mention the money it will cost him.
Just as well, Keller said. The courts would rather see such a matter settled in a civil case.
Will you represent me? Sandy asked.
I will be happy to.
How soon can we file suit?
I'd like to send an expert to look at the picture. Once he concurs in the painting's lack of authenticity, I'll file immediately. I think you should consider what sort of settlement you might accept from Martindale, he said. He certainly won't want to go to trial.
I'd accept what I've already told you, Sandy said, plus a public admission that he deliberately sold a forgery. Perhaps a nice ad in the San Francisco papers.
He'd want confidentiality of the terms of a settlement, Keller said.
I won't agree to that, Sandy replied.
Keller smiled. You're a hard man, Mr. Kinsolving, one after my own heart.
Kara spread out the San Francisco Sunday papers on the bed. This is wonderful, she said. Listen. She read aloud. A bomb was detonated in the San Francisco art world last week when a lawsuit was filed against a prominent local art dealer, Peter Martindale. The suit was brought by New York wine merchant and Napa Valley vineyard owner Alexander Kinsolving, who also acquired with the vineyard a painting, ostensibly an oil by John Wiley.
Sandy held up another newspaper. The New York Times has a piece, too. It comes in an issue that has a feature on art galleries, so it will be widely read.
The phone rang, and Sandy picked it up. Hello?
Sandy, it's Saul Winner.
Saul, it's a perfect piece.
Isn't it? Listen, a sculptor friend of mine, Martin Cage, is throwing a party this evening. Can I tempt you and Kara into town for it?
Sandy turned to Kara. Saul wants us to go to a party this evening at Martin Cage's house. You up for it? You bet I am, she replied. Saul, we'd love to. He wrote down the address. See you 6-ish. He hung up. This, Kara said, is going to be fun. This is the end of Side 3. Martin Cage's house was on a low hill overlooking San Francisco Bay. Kara took a glass of champagne, and Sandy asked someone to make him a Bloody Mary. Saul Winner grabbed them.
You're mine for the duration of this party,
he said, sweeping them onto a large rear lawn. Sandy thought he had never before met so many artists, dealers, collectors, and curators in one place. Saul was introducing Kara as
the former Helena Martindale, whose friends call her Kara.
Sandy discovered that he did not like the name Martindale attached to her. He was astonished at the number of people who uttered encouraging words about his lawsuit. Apparently everybody had read the Sunday papers. A slender young man, accompanied by a photographer, planted himself in their path. Saul, you must introduce me.
Ah, Simon, Saul said. Allow me to introduce Sandy Kinsolving
And Kara, Sandy interrupted.
Sandy, this is Simon Teach, who wrote the article in this morning's paper.
Oh, yes, Mr. Teach, Sandy said. I hung on your every word. Oh, Teach replied, I should think Peter Martindale is more likely to hang, don't you? Kara spoke up. From your lips to God's ear. Ah, yes, Kara, Teach said. I believe you were once something more than friends with the aforementioned, were you not? Will you pillory me for my past errors in judgment, Mr. Teach? Why, no, dear lady, just getting the facts straight. A waiter turned up at Sandy's elbow with a large Bloody Mary. Sandy toasted Teach. Your continued good health, he said. Teach raised his own glass. And good sources, he replied. They clinked glasses.
Ah, Saul cried, our host.
Sandy looked up to see a small man making his way toward them.
Sandy, Kara, Saul said, may I present Martin Cage?
You're very welcome, Cage said with relish. It's about time somebody nailed the bastard.
Oh, Martin, Saul exclaimed suddenly, you are wicked.
Sandy and Kara turned to see Peter Martindale striding confidently toward them, resplendent in a white linen suit. Simon Teach was nearly jumping up and down. Oh, boy, he was muttering. He turned to his photographer, a young girl. Miss this, and I'll strangle you with that camera strap. The girl began clicking off shots. Well, Helena, Martindale crowed, what a great surprise to see you here. He looked at Sandy. And this must be the fabled Mr. Kinsolving. Allow me to introduce myself. Sandy looked him in the eye. Your reputation precedes you, he said. Martindale reacted as if he had been spat upon. He turned to Kara again. And where did you pick up this thing? He asked. Down by the docks? Kara tossed her champagne into his face. Martindale blinked, then dabbed at his damp white suit. Don't worry, Peter, Kara said. It's only champagne. It won't stain your suit. Sandy spoke up. This should do it. He threw his entire Bloody Mary at Martindale. For a moment there was a great silence except for the photographer's camera. Everyone waited expectantly for Martindale's response. When it came, it was disappointing. Another time, he sputtered, then turned and strode toward the house. Everyone let out a tiny moan of disappointment. Then the babble resumed. Teach turned to his photographer. Go, he said. The young woman sprinted toward the street. If you'll forgive me, he said, I have a deadline. Then he too was gone.
Martin, Saul breathed, you really know how to throw a party.
Thank you, Saul, Cage replied, beaming. Well, that was certainly fun, Kara said as they left the waning party. I thought so. It was brilliant of you to order a Bloody Mary, she said. I've never seen you drink one before. What made you do it?
Fate, I guess. Kara, we have to do something about your name.
My name?
Yes. How long does it take to get married in California?
She kissed him on the ear. Not long.
Let's see how fast we can do it.
You're on.
Sandy had been making calls all morning, and the moment he finished, the phone rang. Hello?
Dad?
Angus, how are you?
I'm terrific, Dad.
Where are you?
We're still in Rome, and I have some news. Maggie and I were married this morning.
What?
I said we were married this morning.
Well, that's wonderful, Angus. I'd hope you wouldn't let that girl get away.
Well, after traveling together, we wanted to get married.
Well, I'm absolutely delighted, and I have some news of my own.
What's that, Dad?
Kara and I are being married the day after tomorrow. I'm so glad we could tell you in advance.
I don't believe it. Where are you going to do this?
Here at the vineyard. How did you know where I was?
Sam Warren gave me the number.
Now, look, don't interrupt your honeymoon to come all this way. Do you understand?
Are you sure you don't mind?
Absolutely.
Well, I better go. Have a wonderful wedding.
And you two have a wonderful honeymoon.
Sandy hung up and turned to Kara.
Did you get that?
They're married?
This morning in Rome.
Perfect.
The phone rang again, and Sandy picked it up. Hello? Sandy, it's Harry Keller. This morning I received a cashier's check for $85,000 from Peter Martindale's lawyer, along with a signed admission. He read Martindale's statement aloud. It's running as an ad in the Sunday Art section.
Lets him off kind of easy, doesn't it?
Sandy, let him save a little face. Don't make your opponent eat dirt. It's not good practice.
You're right, Harry.
Shall I send this check to Sam Warren?
Yes, please. Harry, Kara and I are being married the day after tomorrow. We'd love it if you and your wife could join us here around 6.
Sounds delightful. We'd love to.
Sandy hung up and the phone rang again.
Hello?
Mr. Kinsolving, this is Simon Teach. I'd just like to confirm a couple of reports. I've heard that Peter Martindale has settled your suit. Is that correct?
He's settled it on our terms, Sandy said.
For $85,000 and a public admission of guilt?
That's correct.
Good. The other report I have is that you and the lady are getting married.
That's correct, too.
What the hell, Sandy thought. Why not have a little coverage?
And you're invited the day after tomorrow at 6 at what used to be the Larson Vineyard.
May I bring my photographer?
If we can have copies of her shots.
I'll arrange it. See you then. Sandy hung up. Who is that? Kara asked.
Simon Teach.
You invited him?
Why not? Do you mind?
Well, I suppose it'll be all right.
We'll get some photographs anyway. Sweetheart, everything finally seems to be going the way it's supposed to. Isn't it great?
What about Peter?
What about him? We've just rubbed his nose in it. Maybe he's learned not to mess with us.
I hope you're right, she said.
Simon Teach felt no compunction whatever about telephoning Peter Martindale.
Peter, it's Simon. How are you?
You have nerve calling me after what you've written about me.
Dear Peter, believe me, I've been very kind. By the way, I thought your copy for the ad struck just the right tone.
Did you?
Oh, yes. I don't think this nonsense is going to hurt your business in the least.
Well, Simon, I hope you're right. Now I'm off to L.A. this morning, so what can I do for you?
I don't suppose you're attending the nuptials this evening, are you? My editor has demanded that I ask you for a comment on the marriage of Kinsolving to your former wife.
Of course.
Got your pencil ready?
I'm ready.
I wish the happy fucking couple every fucking happiness.
Then the voice moderated.
Have you got that, Simon?
Yes, Peter, I have it.
Good.
Run it without the fuckings, will you?
Of course, Peter.
Bye, I'm off to L.A. for a couple of days. I'm lecturing at the Arts Alliance.
Have a nice trip, Peter.
Oh, I will. Believe you me. Guests began arriving shortly after 6. There was a bar set up on the front porch, and the vineyard's wines were prominently displayed. It was some time after 7 before the judge called for silence. 5 minutes later, Sandy and Kara were man and wife, and her previous married name had been forever obliterated. At that moment, the desk clerk on duty at the Bel Air Hotel looked up to see Peter Martindale. She was surprised, since his room was at the extreme north end of the hotel, and he would normally have parked near his room. "Good evening," Martindale said. "Good evening, Mr. Martindale. I hope you've had a good day." "A very tiring day, my dear," Martindale replied wearily. "I'm just going to have a bite from room service and curl up with the TV. Would you please hold my calls? On no account do I wish to be disturbed." "Of course, Mr. Martindale." Sandy, with considerable flourish, tugged at the corner of the cloth, and it fell away to reveal the new label of the Kinsolving vineyards. There was enthusiastic applause. "Ladies and gentlemen," Sandy said, "from this moment, this vineyard has a new name. In the autumn, we will make the first wines bearing this label, which my wife designed. Kara and I are so pleased that you could join us for this occasion, the beginning of a new marriage and a new tradition." More hearty applause. The party continued. Sandy moved Kara around the impromptu dance floor on the broad front porch, accompanied by a small band. He was looking forward to his wedding night. All the guests had left who were leaving. Sam Warren and his wife had retired, and Kara was taking a bath. Sandy slipped into a dressing gown and went downstairs to turn off the lights. He walked out onto the porch and took a last look at the lovely evening. He was very happy. He went back into the house, not bothering to lock the front door. He turned off the lights and headed for the stairs. His hand found the newel post at the bottom, and a millisecond later something heavy and firm struck the back of his neck. He managed to hold on to the newel post another second before he lost consciousness. Sandy's dreams were awful. They spun violently in his head. Then his eyes opened, and he wondered where he was. His cheek lay against soft carpeting, and there was a large, dull pain in the back of his neck. He was on a strange staircase. He could feel the banister. Where could he be? He had a sudden memory of dancing, so he began there and worked his way forward. The stairs were in the house at the vineyard. He struggled to his feet and held on to the banister, willing his feet to climb the stairs. Why? What was the rush? What was waiting for him upstairs? He climbed faster, his breath coming in short gasps. Kara was up there somewhere. He paused at the top to get his bearings. He stumbled toward the bedroom. The door was open, and moonlight flooded the room. Two people were standing there, and one of them was doing something to the other. "Kara!" he shouted. "Sandy, help me!" The two figures separated, and the tall one fled past him. Sandy grabbed weakly at the man, and for a moment he had hold of a raincoat sleeve. Then something heavy hit him. Before he blacked out, he heard, as from a great distance, Kara's scream. When Sandy woke up, his head was in Kara's lap, and a strange man was speaking to him. "Mr. Kinsolving, can you hear me?" "Yes," Sandy said, and tried to sit up. "Just lie still, darling," Kara said. "Can you see me?" the man's voice asked. Sandy struggled to focus. "Yes, I can see you. What's happened?" "You appear to have had a blow on the head," the young man said. "I'm Deputy Wheeling of the Napa Sheriff's Office. An ambulance is on its way." "What for?" "With a head injury, it's always best to have a doctor take a look at you." "I've got a hell of a headache," Sandy replied. "Kara, do you think I could have some aspirin?" "An ice pack would be a better idea," the deputy said. Kara left and returned with some ice cubes in a towel. She pressed them to Sandy's head. Sandy sighed. "That's better. Now tell me what's happened." "You've had an intruder in the house," the deputy said. Suddenly everything came back to him. "Kara, are you all right? I saw you struggling with a man." "Yes, I'm all right," she replied. "Who was he?" "I don't know for sure, but it could have been Peter," she said. "Peter? Here?" He tried to think. "I was downstairs on the front porch. I turned off the lights and he hit me." The deputy spoke up. "Looks like he hit you from behind when you were downstairs, then again when you got up here. Mrs. Kinsolving saw that." "Did he try to hurt you?" Sandy asked Kara. "Yes. He tried to strangle me with something." "That necktie, I figure," the deputy said, pointing to the tie lying on the floor.
"I was lucky," Kara said. "I reached up to push him away, and my wrist caught in the loop. It's funny, he smelled like Peter, but he seemed to have a beard."
Sandy woke in the little Napa hospital to find a man in his room looking at an X-ray. "Good morning," Sandy said. "Ah, you're awake. I'm Dr. Swift, and I want to take a look at you before we let you go home." Sandy submitted to a thorough neurological examination. "There's no fracture," Dr. Swift said. "You have a mild concussion, and I'd like you to spend today in bed at home." "I understand," Sandy replied. When Sandy and Kara arrived at the house, the sheriff was waiting, along with Deputy Wheeler.
"My name's Norm Ferris," he said, shaking Sandy's hand. "Do you feel up to answering some questions?"
"Sure, come into the living room." When they were comfortable, the sheriff began.
"Mrs. Kinsolving, last night you said that you thought the man who tried to strangle you was Peter. Who is Peter?"
"My ex-husband."
"This would be Peter Martindale, then?"
"Yes."
"I read the newspaper article about the party," the sheriff said, "and I take it, Mr. Kinsolving, that you recently brought a lawsuit against Mr. Martindale."
"That's correct."
"Do you think Mr. Martindale is the kind of man who might become so angry that he would attack your wife?"
Kara spoke up. "I think so, and I know my ex-husband much better than Sandy does."
"I telephoned Mr. Martindale's gallery this morning and was told that he is in Los Angeles staying at the Bel Air Hotel," the sheriff said. "The operator said that Mr. Martindale was not taking any calls. I've asked the L.A. police to go to the hotel and question him about his whereabouts last night."
"Good," Sandy said.
Detectives Harrow and Martinez of the LAPD knocked on the door of the room. The door opened, and a tall, slender man stood before them. "Come in, gentlemen," he said. "The front desk said you're from the police?"
"That's correct, Mr. Martindale,"
Harrow said, showing his badge. Martindale showed them to a seat. An open suitcase lay on the bed.
"You're checking out?" Harrow asked.
"Yes, I'm flying back to San Francisco. What is this about, please?"
"I'd like to ask you a few questions," Harrow said, "in connection with an investigation by the Napa County Sheriff's Office. Can you tell me where you were last night, Mr. Martindale?"
"I was here, at the hotel."
"Did you have dinner in the dining room?"
"No, I came in about 6:30. I asked the front desk not to put any calls through. Then I had something from room service, watched television, then went to bed."
"What did you watch?"
"Some news on CNN and a movie, The Bedford Incident, Widmark and Poitier. Excellent movie."
"Did the room service waiter get the dishes?"
"I put them outside when I had finished."
"What time was the movie over?"
"Sometime after midnight."
"Did you speak to anyone before you went to bed?"
"I called the front desk when the movie was over to see if there had been any calls."
Harrow nodded.
"Were you in Napa County last night, Mr. Martindale?"
"No, I was here, as I've told you."
Harrow stood up.
"Thanks very much for your cooperation, Mr. Martindale."
Harrow and Martinez emerged into a parking lot.
"He could have left the hotel without being seen," Harrow said.
"That's right," Martinez echoed. "He could have parked right here."
"Kind of pushing it to get to Napa by, 10:30, then back here in time to call the front desk at—"
Harrow looked at his notes.
12:50, the lady said.
"I guess it could be done," Martinez said. "Maybe a private jet?"
Harrow nodded. Ferris hung up the phone.
"Mr. Martindale appears to have an alibi," he said. "He was in his room at the Bel Air last evening."
"He could have sneaked out," Kara said. "All the rooms open to the outside."
"Maybe," Ferris said. "We'll check on it, of course."
The sheriff and his deputy left. "Do you really think it was Peter?" Sandy asked.
"I'm certain it was," she said. "He's covered his tracks, as usual."
Deputy Tony Wheeler spread out a map of Greater Los Angeles along with an L.A. Yellow Pages. First he looked up the address of the Bel Air Hotel and found its position on the map. He marked that, then began looking for airports. The two nearest the hotel were Burbank and Santa Monica, with Santa Monica being closer. He opened the yellow pages to the air charters listings at Santa Monica Airport. There were an even dozen, and he went at them alphabetically. All denied sending an airplane to Napa County the night before, but with one he had a flutter of disbelief. It was a guy called Barnum. He called Santa Monica Airport and asked for the tower, then explained who he was.
How can I help you, Deputy?
Do you keep any records of airplanes that take off and land at your airport?
We keep a log for a month if there was a flight plan filed.
Can you fly out without filing a flight plan?
Yes, you can depart VFR, that's under visual flight rules, and not file.
Can you tell me if any airplanes departed VFR last night between, say, 7 and 10?
Last night, between 8 and midnight, we had only one VFR departure, and that was a twin Cessna, registration November 123 Tango Foxtrot.
Wheeler wrote down the number. Can you tell me if it returned last night?
Just a minute.
Another minute's wait.
Yes, it landed shortly after midnight.
How would I find out who that airplane is registered to?
You'd have to call the FAA registration office in Wichita. I'll give you the number.
Wheeler called the FAA. He gave them the number and asked to whom it was registered. We show that aircraft as a Beach Bonanza registered to a corporation in Santa Fe. Sheriff Ferris stopped at Wheeler's desk.
What are you up to?
He asked. Norm, I got to thinking about Martindale and how Mrs. Kinsolving said he could easily get out of the Bel Air Hotel, so I called all the charter services at Santa Monica to see if anybody had run a flight up here last night.
And?
And everybody denied such a flight, but I got the impression that one guy wasn't being truthful. I figure it's possible that Martindale hired the guy, then paid him extra not to talk.
That's hard to prove.
Then I found out that only one airplane took off last night without filing a flight plan, a twin-engine Cessna, and the registration number turns out to be a Beech single from New Mexico. The airplane took off early in the evening and returned after midnight.
So what's your conclusion?
Well, my hypothesis is that Martindale hired this guy Barnum, and the guy gave the tower a false tail number. And from the time he took off until about 45 minutes after he landed, nobody saw Martindale at the Bel Air Hotel.
But Barnum denies flying up here last night?
That's right, but he sounded funny to me.
Okay,
the sheriff said.
It's all circumstantial, right?
Right, but I'd like to fly down there and talk to the guy.
All right, if the county manager will approve it. Come right back.
Wheeler called the county manager's office. Sandy walked back into the house and met Kara. I woke up and there was nobody in bed with me, she pouted. You shouldn't be up.
I feel fine now, he said, except that I'm very angry.
You have every right to be, she said. He's violated our home, tried to harm us both, and I think he's too smart for the police.
You said it was unlike him to provoke a physical confrontation, Sandy said, but he did last night.
Kara shook her head. He thought he had an advantage.
So you think he's still afraid of confrontation?
I know he is, she replied.
Then, said Sandy, I think the thing to do is to confront him.
I don't like this, Kara said.
Neither do I, Sandy replied, but I don't know what else to do.
He dialed the number. Hello? Martindale said.
Sandy took a deep breath. This is Bart, he said. We have to meet.
Where?
Martindale asked. At the same place we met the first time out here. Take the 4:00 boat.
All right, Martindale replied.
Sandy hung up and turned to Kara. I have to go to San Francisco, he said.
I'm coming with you.
No, it's better if you aren't involved.
But I am involved.
No, my darling,
he replied. He kissed her, got her raincoat, then left the house. He walked to the car, then stopped. He was unarmed. Peeking through a window to see that Kara was not in the kitchen, he entered. Half a dozen knife handles protruded from a wooden block. He chose a slim, sharp knife, wrapped the blade in some toweling, put the knife in his pocket, and returned to the car. Tony Wheeler walked into a tiny reception area. There was a door with Shorty Barnum's name on it, and Tony opened that. Barnum, who had been dozing, started.
"Oops," he said. "Caught me catching 40 winks. What can I—"
Then he saw Tony's badge, and he didn't seem happy.
My name's Tony Wheeler, the deputy said. We spoke this morning.
Yeah? Well, what brings you down here, deputy?
You told me that you didn't make a flight to Napa last night, didn't you?
That's what I told you,
Barnum said, and then he looked at the door. Tony followed his gaze and found his pilot, Bert, standing there.
Can I see you a minute?
Bert asked. Sure. Tony stepped into the reception area and closed the door behind him. What's up?
I had a look in the airplane, Bert said. His logbook shows no flight last night, but his Hobbs meter, the little dial that records engine time, shows 4.2 hours, more than his logbook total shows.
Thank you, Bert, Tony said. He opened the office door and returned to his chair.
What's going on? Barnum asked.
You tell me, Tony replied. Listen, Shorty, it makes a difference if you didn't know what the guy was going to do.
I don't know what you're talking about,
Shorty said. All right, I'll spell it out, Tony replied. Last night, round 8:30, you took off from Santa Monica VFR after telling the tower a wrong tail number. You flew up to Napa County, and after a while you flew back to Santa Monica. Shorty shook his head. Shorty, you haven't committed a crime yet. You can tell me what happened, and I won't have any reason to arrest you, unless you help the guy do it.
What'd he do?
Shorty asked, looking worried.
I mean, after I allegedly flew him up there.
He tried to murder somebody. Shorty shook his head.
Look, I can't help you, pal.
Shorty, let's have a look at your logbook, Tony said.
What for? It won't show any flight last night. I didn't go anywhere.
Then why does your Hobbs meter show a flight of 4.2 hours? Shorty was suddenly at a loss for words. Come on, Shorty, he couldn't have paid you enough for you to risk becoming an accessory to attempted murder. Shorty's shoulders sagged.
You're right,
he said. How much did he pay you?
$5,000. I was in a hole.
I understand. I just want to know about the guy. Did you know him? Shorty shook his head.
Never saw him before. Said his name was Prendergast, but I didn't really believe him.
Why not?
Well, a guy wants to make a very confidential flight, and he's wearing a false beard.
No kidding. Tony was excited now.
Well, looked phony to me.
Tony Wheeler and Sheriff Ferris sat in the district attorney's office, and the DA listened patiently while Tony told of his interrogation of Shorty Barnum.
What do you think, Dan?
I like the motive, the DA said, but there's lots of room for reasonable doubt. Is there any physical evidence? Tony shook his head. I dusted the likely spots at the Kinsolving place, but there was nothing usable. How about Barnum's airplane? Barnum said the man wore gloves. The DA shrugged. Well, I'm ready to listen if you come up with something else. The sheriff stood up.
Thanks, Dan.
Tony got up and trudged after him. On the front steps of the courthouse, the sheriff stopped.
Well, let's get back to work. You're due back riding the north end of the county.
Driving north, Tony Wheeler struck the steering wheel of his patrol car several times, venting his very considerable frustration. Tony Wheeler drove north more slowly than he usually did. The case was eating at him. Martindale would almost certainly try again. At that moment, the radio came alive.
Napa 4, this is Base.
Tony picked up the microphone. Base, Napa 4.
Tony, it's Norm.
Yeah, Norm?
What's your position?
2.5 miles north of town.
Good. The desk had a call from Mrs. Kinsolving. She sounded upset. I just got in and called her, but there's no answer. We'll by there and see if she's all right.
Wilco, Tony said. I'll be there in 3 minutes.
Let me know if she's all right.
Wilco, out. Tony drove quickly up to the house. Mrs. Kinsolving was on her hands and knees in a flower bed. He got out of the car. Good afternoon, Mrs. Kinsolving, he said. I'm Deputy Wheeler. Yes, I remember, she said. She was standing now. The sheriff said you called. Is everything all right? Tears began to roll down her face. No, I'm afraid Sandy's in terrible trouble. What kind of trouble, ma'am? He's gone to meet Peter. Peter Martindale? She nodded. I'm afraid of what might happen. Tony was afraid, too. Where's he meeting Mr. Martindale? At Alcatraz. Alcatraz? Sandy told me that Peter once insisted that they meet at Alcatraz. Well, how long has your husband been gone? I don't know exactly, at least an hour.
Ma'am, thank you for telling me. Now you're going to have to excuse me. He ran for his patrol car, grabbed the microphone. Base, Napa 4.
Napa 4, base.
The sheriff there?
No, Tony.
Okay, call the airport and get hold of Bert, the pilot. Tell him to have the police helicopter running, that we're going to San Francisco.
I read you, Tony.
Tony put the microphone back, flipped on the lights and siren, and stood on the accelerator. Sandy drove across the Golden Gate Bridge, feeling a mixture of emotions. He knew he could kill Martindale and never feel a moment's guilt, but he would make one more effort to reason with him. He looked out toward the Pacific. A fog bank covered everything to seaward. The bridge soon might be enveloped. Sandy drove off the bridge. He bought a ticket and got aboard the boat. Halfway to the island, Sandy looked toward the Golden Gate Bridge, and it was gone. The wall of fog was making its way inland. As he stepped ashore, Sandy saw that since his last visit, a section of the stout Alcatraz wall had collapsed. An elderly tour guide was waiting to greet the group, and Sandy pointed at the wall. "What happened?" he asked.
"The old girl's fallen down," the guide said.
Sandy let himself fall to the rear of the group as it formed.
"Now," said the guide, "my name is Wembley, and I was a guard here. I'm going to show it to you. Please don't hesitate to ask any questions."
He led the group toward the main body of the prison. Sandy stayed a few steps to the rear. It was as before. As the crowd moved out of the cell block, Sandy hung back and looked at the cells to his right. Peter Martindale stood inside one, waiting. "How much longer?" Tony said into the intercom.
"About 11 minutes, Bert said. He punched the push-to-talk button. San Francisco approach, Napa 1 police helicopter."
"Napa 1, a controller said.
"I'm 5 miles north of Class B airspace at 1,000 feet, squawking 1200, heading 200.
"Napa 1, what is your destination?"
"Alcatraz. Request vectors."
Napa 1, do you intend landing at Alcatraz?"
"Affirmative."
"Is this an emergency?"
Bert looked at Tony. Tony nodded.
"Affirmative, San Francisco. This is a police emergency."
Napa 1, understand police emergency. Come left to 190. Alcatraz is 17 miles at 12 o'clock. Report Alcatraz in sight."
"Wilco,"
Bert said. He turned to Tony.
"This better be good," he said.
Napa 1, San Francisco approach."
"This is Napa 1.
"The Coast Guard has advised us that a fog bank is currently estimated to be 1/2 mile west of Alcatraz, moving east."
"Roger, San Francisco."
Bert turned again to Tony.
"You give me the most entertaining flying. You really do."
Sandy looked at Martindale. There was something in the man's face he hadn't seen before. Desperation, maybe. Determination, probably. Madness, certainly. "Peter," he said, "we have to end this. Today. Now. This minute."
"That is my intention, Sandy," Martindale replied.
"Peter, if you persist in this, you will destroy yourself."
"Yes, Sandy, I know that. But I will destroy you first, and then Helena."
"Peter, think. Why must you have this vendetta? Helena has given you everything you have."
"And together you and Helena have taken it away."
"What?"
"In order to raise the money I paid you, I gave the apartment and the business as collateral. But since you have now gutted my reputation, I will never, never be able to repay the loan. I'll lose everything." He brought his voice down. "Everything," he repeated.
"Peter, can't you see that you've painted yourself into this corner?"
"It's your doing," Martindale said.
"Peter, enough talking," Martindale said. "Stand up." He drew his hand from his pocket, and in it was a silenced revolver. Sandy slipped his hand into his raincoat pocket. Martindale pressed the pistol up under Sandy's chin. "Take your hands out of your pockets," he said. Sandy obeyed. Martindale patted Sandy's pockets, reached in, and came out with the knife. My, he said. "You came prepared, didn't you?"
"San Francisco approach, Napa 1. I have Alcatraz in sight." "Napa 1, San Francisco approach. Do you see the landing pad on top of the main building?"
"Affirmative." Napa 1, cleared to land at Alcatraz.
Roger.
Bert turned to Tony.
Shouldn't you let the San Francisco police know about this?
I hadn't thought of that, Tony admitted. Yeah, ask them to call the cops and the FBI, too.
San Francisco approach, Napa 1. Request you alert the San Francisco police and the FBI of the emergency.
Roger, Napa 1. What is the nature of your emergency?
Bert looked at Tony. Well? We're going in to prevent a possible murder.
San Francisco approach, Napa 1. We are intervening to prevent a possible homicide.
Roger, Napa 1. We'll call in the cavalry.
Bert, Tony said, let's fly over the yard and see what the hell's going on. Sandy walked across the yard ahead of Peter. Head for those stairs, Martindale said, the ones to the guard tower. A chain stretched across the stairs and a sign hung on it. No entry, it said. Unhook the chain, Martindale said. Sandy unhooked the chain and started up the stairs. From behind them came a shout. The guide, Wembley, was running toward them.
"Stop!" he yelled. "It's dangerous up there."
Martindale fired a shot into the dirt near the guide. Wembley stopped. Sandy moved for the gun, but Martindale pointed it at him again. "Climb," he said. Sandy trudged up the stairs. At the top, a patch of fog blew across the top of the wall, momentarily obliterating it. "Keep going along the wall," Martindale said. Sandy looked over the edge of the parapet. It was 70 or 80 feet down. He turned around to face Martindale. He was farther behind than Sandy had thought. "Stop this, Peter. Put the gun down." A noise distracted him, and he looked up. A helicopter was moving slowly toward them. Suddenly, Martindale was gone. Sandy could see nothing but fog. "There," Tony said, "on top of the wall, 2 men. Bert replied, "It's the fog. I can't see a damn thing." "Keep going in that direction," Tony demanded. "I think one of them had a gun." Now the helicopter was enveloped in fog. "Oh, shit!" Bert yelled. Sandy suddenly realized that Martindale couldn't see him. He turned and began to run. He heard 2 quick, muffled reports, and something ricocheted off the masonry next to him. He threw himself to the opposite side of the walkway. Another noise came, and masonry flew off the wall where he had been. Sandy stopped. Now he couldn't see the path. "Stand still!" Martindale yelled. A hole in the fog had come upon them, and Sandy could see Peter pointing the pistol at him. He made to run, but he was on the brink of an abyss, at the spot where the wall had collapsed. "There!" Tony yelled. "I see them! Put my side as close to them as you can." He tightened his seatbelt, opened the door, lifted it off its pins, and tossed it into the back seat. "Closer!" he shouted, grabbing his riot gun. "Who are you planning to shoot?" Bert asked. "The one with the gun, Bert," Tony said, exasperated. Sandy stared into the uplifted gun barrel, into the silencer. He felt the wall begin to sink under his feet. The helicopter was close now. "Now it's over for you, Sandy," Martindale said. He pulled the trigger. Sandy flinched, but nothing happened. There was only a loud click. Misfire. Martindale looked at the pistol, annoyed, then aimed it and pulled the trigger a second time. Nothing. Sandy felt the wall give way beneath him. The only thing to grab hold of was Martindale's gun. He pulled himself toward safety. Martindale seemed surprised, but he held on. Sandy had hold of his wrist now, and to his astonishment Martindale moved forward, and the 2 men changed places. "Watch out!" Sandy yelled as Martindale stepped onto the sinking wall. A loud report came from the helicopter, and Martindale's head snapped to one side as bloody flecks appeared on his face. He let go of the pistol. Then the wall beneath Martindale gave way, and he plunged to the hard surface below. Sandy backed away from the abyss and slowly slid down to a sitting position. What had happened? Why was he not dead? He pressed a button on the pistol, and the cylinder fell open. Each of the 6 cartridges bore a mark from the firing pin. Sandy counted. Martindale had fired 1 shot at the guide, then, 3 at him? That was only 4. Then it came to him. This was the pistol that Martindale had given him to kill his wife. Sandy had given him to kill his wife. Sandy had fired 2 of the shots himself into a stack of cardboard boxes. He had saved his own life. Sandy sat at his desk above the wine shop. He had been back in New York for a week now, feeling happy except for his conscience. The phone buzzed.
Yes?
He's here, Mr. Kinsolving.
Please send him in. Detective Alan de Vivier walked into the room. The two men shook hands, and Sandy offered the man a seat.
Why did you want to see me, Mr. Kinsolving?
Are you off duty now?
More or less.
Then let me offer you a glass of wine. De Vivier blinked.
All right,
he said. Sandy poured them both a glass, then sat down. This is a particularly nice Burgundy. De Vivier sipped from his glass.
It's excellent, he said. But why did you want to see me?
He smiled.
Are you ready to confess?
As a matter of fact, Sandy said, I am. De Vivier's mouth fell open. When Sandy had finished his story, de Vivier finally spoke.
Do you feel better now?
Very much better, Sandy said. You can arrest me if you like.
For what?
De Vivier asked.
The most I could charge you with would be obstruction of justice, concealing the facts of a murder, but I doubt if it would stick. After all, you acted under duress.
Sandy shrugged.
Anyway, I didn't read you your rights, so your confession would be inadmissible.
Sandy smiled. I thought that might be the case. I just felt you had a right to know the truth.
Thank you. If you'd told me, it might have saved you a great deal of pain.
You're right, I suppose, but I'll just have to live with the consequences of my actions. De Vivier stood up.
Well, I better be getting home.
Sandy took another bottle of the wine. Take this with my compliments. And my apologies.
Is this a bribe?
De Vivier asked. Probably.
Don't worry. Your story won't go any further. You know, you and your wife are very lucky. It could have ended differently.
I know, Sandy said. My wife and I are very, very lucky.